for manufacturing to scale to, the levels of, to really be a real competitor to China?
Right. So we had a slightly different starting. We never actually thought of all these details when we started up. So we had internally between me and Swapnil, we had like a 30 to 40-year plan where we underappreciated and said we'll build scooters and we build two-wheelers for the first 10 years. Then we'll get into energy and we'll build distributed power generation and storage. And then we'll get into grids by the 30th year mark. So we sort of skipped through a lot of the details in writing this really, really long-term roadmap. I think so we never really appreciated how tough manufacturing in India will be, or how, actually not manufacturing, I should rephrase. I think in our 10 years, and India's changed a lot, in our 10 years, we never really found manufacturing to be very hard. The actual job of running a plant is very hard. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make from outside, that wow, running a plant is like crazy, so much money, so much people. Actually, you've got phenomenal systems for running people and managing people in India at scale for manufacturing. You've got a very low capex system. Like somebody was just asking me outside. I said, IIT has put in about 350 million in R&D over the last 10 years. I have less than $10 million worth of capex on my books today. Right?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, like the total capex that we put every year is less than 10% of our total money spent, generally. Like not including material purchases, obviously. Yeah. Sure. So capex is a very small part of manufacturing, unless you're into hardcore things like you're setting up a casting shop, you're setting up an EMS business. That's different. But most manufacturing, the way you and I think of, let's say what IIT is doing or what Boat is doing, capex is a very small element. The hard part of manufacturing always has been the supplier ecosystem and product development. And by product development, I don't mean a bunch of designers sitting in a really fancy office and designing. We do that. But the second part, which is called manufacturing engineering, that's damn difficult. And it's difficult because India does not have an ecosystem around that. How to move a great prototype, something that you can build 10, 20, 30, 40 pieces of. How do you move that into production with the right cost structure and quality? It's taken us 4 years. It took us 4 years to take an amazing looking vehicle, which we launched, by the way, to a place where by standard metrics, it was the right quality and the right cost. It took us 4 years. And what we realized is the manufacturing ecosystem does not exist, in the sense we don't have people who do manufacturing engineering in India that well. People who've gotten the exposure of doing manufacturing engineering really well on our side and the supplier side. So I think as India becomes a large, and it is a given now, given how the overall macro is, India will be doing manufacturing at scale. The only pockets, there's some pockets in automotive where there is increasing competence building up in how do you. Actually, India Automotive has had a big failure in suppliers. Suppliers are terrific manufacturers. You give them something that already works, they can keep spamming that out day in and day out at a lower cost structure than China. In fact, that was our experience. When we began production, we began in China and we quickly moved to India because India was cheaper by at least 10%. It is getting fixed already, but once that gets fixed, I think we have all the right ingredients in place.
That's great to hear. Yeah, in the hardware world, we hear like Shenzhen in China has that figured out to go prototyping to scale. Do you think that's what we need?
I think there will be some differences. I think it would be actually better for us to not just be a manufacturing powerhouse by just pure sheer scale. That's what China achieved. I think it'll be a far richer growth for us if we did our own products, right? If we see, and India already has the DNA. I think there's enough entrepreneurial confidence and DNA कि हम खुद का बनाएंगे. We can imagine a new concept. I don't believe that that's a problem, that people think, that at least there are some entrepreneurs who can't think that. I think it would be better for us to do a better than Shenzhen policy. I think we could do a weaker than Shenzhen in terms of just pure economics of scale. I think like setting up an entire town for making buttons, that kind of shit can only happen in China. India mein utna coherence nahi hai, right? Like we can't set up towns to just do one damn thing. right? Like there's enough complexity that'll come in. But we could do this journey of productionization, this manufacturing engineering journey really well, and move really new products and really new concepts to production early on, and hence have a superior margin, a superior value add as businesses than what China achieved. Maybe our end results will not look very different because China always has had better scale, and I think India will always struggle in bringing that kind of efficiency. But and hence we'll have to change the game. If we try to just copy China, we will never be as efficient or as disciplined as them. Let's just acknowledge that, at least for now. Then can we be more innovative than what China did? Can we work on newer products? Can we work on more higher value products? I think that's probably a better outcome for everybody involved. Even if you look at EV, had we gone down the China route, and China had a brilliant success. I remember when we were starting Ather, reading up this some World Bank report, I forget, World Bank or Development Bank. There were 450 companies manufacturing motors for electric scooters in China. They have like this amazing ability to just commoditize everything always. And if you've got 450 competent people doing motor manufacturing in China, you can bet you will get the lowest cost structure, right? India will be lucky to have 30 eventually, right? We will not have more than 30. So we will never bring that scale in. And it's good we did not, because what it allowed our industry to do is today India has the most sophisticated EV two-wheeler tech in the world, right? It's a very niche thing that we've been able to go deep in. Not just us, actually, I'm saying for our industry. The kind of tech that India is today working on is absolutely cutting edge on EV two-wheelers. And I hope increasingly many more niches in EV, which China will never get to. China's actually gotten to a place where they've commoditized themselves so much that two-wheeler EV manufacturing in China is a shit business. It's like a damn commodity business. Koi nahi jayega. There's no R&D that flows into this. We took a different path, and I think that's a copybook. That's a playbook worth copying for many other places.
That makes lots of sense. That stay close to the customer and build the end product and include the design. So there's lots of things going on in hardware and in that ecosystem. I'm sure you see lots of founders who come to you for advice. Where do you think India can be with respect to building hardware in the next decade?
Actually, my question is not very different. My answer is not very different from what I answered, right? I think if you're doing hardware, I think you're better off pursuing a new product opportunity, something that nobody else is building anywhere in the world. It is still not super easy because we're still developing the manufacturing engineering muscle in India. We don't have a ridiculously large pool of talent. But because of that same damn reason, if you can bring something to the market as a pioneer, you will build a brand and you will be the only ones who can do it. It's so damn difficult that you've got an automatic moat. Just the process of doing it guarantees a certain amount of moat for yourselves, right? So I think my bet is that we will see less China kind of same thing, but at scale. We'll see a lot of B2C success with hardware in India. I think manufacturing, which is backed by a very powerful brand building, is the way forward, and not just quite in the background manufacturing. But let me flip that question for you, Shailesh, because I told you I'll do this, right? If manufacturing is going to scale up, it's going to need more dollars, right? It's going to need more investment, and genuine dollars, not just rupees. So what do you... So, and it's obvious. It's not a question. It's obvious that at this point, venture investors still haven't cracked how to back hardware at any meaningful scale. Like I'm sure some experiments are happening. We got lucky with one venture investment in our early days, but largely we've been a story of strategic or late stage PE capital backing us. What's happening?
It's a great question. And look, venture capital has gone through phases. The early days of venture capital, like I'm talking 30, 40, 50 years ago, when it first started, was funding things like semiconductors, was funding things like disk drives, was funding things like PC manufacturers, the earlier days. But I'd say the last 2 or 3 decades have moved to much more things at the application level or software type companies. And software companies have a very different type of supply chain into them. It's basically you have people who build software, If you want to incorporate other software in it, you download it off the internet and you pay a license fee, and it's very simple. There's very little understanding of things like working capital in our business, unfortunately, because most of the companies we've invested in are related to doing things that don't need any of it. And supply chains and finding suppliers and developing them and managing them, they're all new things. So over the last several years, we've certainly dipped our toe into making investments in hardware, and it's accelerating. There's limited early success, and I think that's why the dipping your toe has not resulted in like a massive wave of investment from venture, but it's coming. I
Is
think
it fair to say that right now the industry as a whole, not specifically our fund, but the industry as a whole does not have the venture industry as a whole does not have a playbook of how hardware makes money for the fund?
absolutely.
What timelines, what
Absolutely.
exits,
Yeah.
and so the risk profile is very unclear at this point.
It's unclear, and we are in the business of like very large outcomes. The very large outcomes is what drives overall of companies getting to many billions of dollars of value. And hardware has been harder for that. There's fewer examples of that today. That said, I'm a huge believer. I spend much more time in North Bangalore, where there's a lot more manufacturing than South Bangalore these days. And 2 out of the 4 investments, at least I was involved with this year, are hardware investments. And we're seeing that, look, the output in the public markets is, if you are an EMS company or any sort of hardware company today going public in India, you would have a fantastic outcome. So we're trying to see how we can build more of those companies. I think the other issue that we have is there's not enough people like you. There's not enough people who try and want to do this. That most people still will build today's AI and the next AI startup, than try to do something that is more physical. And yeah, look, there is overall there's not enough entrepreneurship in India still. But with that, we should probably wrap. Yeah. Thank you. Sure.
If you look at India, especially the public markets, the companies which have been successful are those which have been able to build the mass. For example, Maruti or Hero Honda, or if you take even for HM Motors, Royal Enfield has become a mass. So, how the EV, from my question is Tarun, how do you think that you will be able to get that critical mass as a category? Because I see that there is a still price barrier, which is not making the EV a mass thing yet. It is slowly becoming. So it is not, and the technology development, the R&D is incremental. I feel it's not transformational or orbit shifting. It's rather incremental. So how do you address these 2 issues? On the second question is, are you trying to build anything similar to Enfield in future from Aether Energy?
Second question, unlikely, because of your first question. I think we'd like to build more
back for just for a few more minutes over the side for questions. At least maybe I'll take you. We can answer some questions on the side, but we're gonna call this a close and give a big round of applause, please. And I have a small. Thank you, and one small token of appreciation from us. Give big round of applause, please.
Right now, we're going to begin a panel discussion on the role of government policies in accelerating EV adoption. So I'm going to introduce the panel members and the moderator, and then we can start this discussion, right? So here we have Amitabh. So Mr. Amitabh is the co-founder and CEO of Altigreen Propulsion Labs. It's one of the largest three-wheeler cargo vehicle manufacturing companies in India, and it has received awards from several reputed organizations and has raised 48.8 million in funding from Reliance Six Sense Ventures and many other VCs. And we have Karthikeya. Karthikeya is the founder and CEO of ChargeZone and Billini. So ChargeZone is one of the country's fastest growing EV charging networks. So it's building high-speed public infrastructure, public charging infrastructure, and has raised 54 million in its Series A. Next, we have Rajinder. So Rajinder is the MD of Matrix Partners India. So I'm sure most of us know Matrix here. Matrix has over 100 investments with $1.5 billion AUM. So Rajinder handles a portfolio of consumer B2B and fintech companies at Matrix Partners. So some of these include Ola, Park Plus, Dukan Auto, and many more. Next, we have Chaitanya. So Chaitanya is the Associate Director of E-Mobility at WRI India. So she's led various research and project on electric mobility initiatives at the national and state levels. So she oversees government EV partnerships in 6 Indian states and has co-authored a Niti Aayog book on charging infrastructure implementation. And we have our moderator, Mr. Manu Iyer. He's the founder and managing partner of Blue Hill Capital. So Blue Hill Capital is an early stage fund backing innovative ideas in deep tech, IoT, industrial, and the clean tech space. So it has a portfolio of about 20 companies, and they invest in the ranges of 100 to 500K for each company. So please give a warm welcome to the panelists and the moderator. We can begin the session now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. And how is everyone today? Morning. Good to see, so many people out on a Saturday morning here. So the title says the role of government, in accelerating EV adoption. I think there's a lot to unpack there, as innocuous as that title looks. I think there's a lot to unpack, and I think we have the perfect mix of people to have this conversation with. So let's kick things off with Amitabh. So, government regulation, I think the most talked about, and I think the most infamous policy, is FAME, right? The faster adoption. So it expires in March 24. I think there is a lot of nuances around it. And so I will ask you to address that policy as it concerns you specifically in the three-wheeler segment, and then Karthikeya can also chime in on that.
Sure. So FAME is the faster, the adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. It was as a policy. It was started, in 2010 or something, and then they barely did anything in the first phase. The second phase was started in 2019, expires in 2024, 31st March 2024. So a couple of things that I am a little challenged about is, first of all, we had earmarked 10,000 crores. We spent about 3,000 crores, and we're still unsure if we will consider this policy or extend this policy at all. Everyone says that it will get extended, but there's no announcement for it. I have a challenge there. I don't think there is ever a precedent in any other country where 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of subsidies have really made a difference. That's number one. Number two, my bigger challenge is when I talk to the government, a lot of them talk about FAME being extended in different shapes and forms. But there's no announcement yet. When FAME is announced, an extension or a FAME 3 policy is announced, everything related to EVs will need to be recertified for FAME 3, recertified, everything, not just vehicles, battery packs, everything. And it takes months to do that. We're already sitting in December. 31st March things expire. Every vehicle ever to be sold in this country or being sold in this country or being manufactured in this country has to go through that process if it needs any kind of subsidy. Again, there'll be queues. The same thing that happened for battery packs last year is probably going to get replicated this year. I think it's high time that they were cognizant of these things, and whichever way it is, yes or no. But I think better to announce it so that manufacturers, OEMs like us, we can at least start making those decisions. We can start working with the financing side. So if subsidy is not there, what do you do? How do you make sure that people still accept it because they like vehicles? It's not because of the price, but they like vehicles. And so there's a lot that can be done without the subsidy. And I'm not saying it should continue indefinitely. Can be tapered down. There are ways in which it can happen, but it's important to set those stakes in the ground and say, this is it, guys. This is how it's going to be going forward, whether there's going to be a mix, a new one, an extension, whatever it is. I think the announcement is all I'm waiting for, just to make sure that it's happening.
Awesome. So, Kartikeya, as it pertains to you, right, and your charging network and fast charging network, can you talk about how the FAME itself would, what are the issues that you would see with that?
So I think it's a little deja vu feeling because when we started Charge Zone in early 2019 and there were general elections and FAME 2 was released just before general elections, and we were one of the industry representatives being consulted for the charging infra point of view. Now, honestly, the word subsidy is very, very dangerous. We know what has happened to the agriculture sector in the country over the last 50 years. I think viability gap funding is a better term to use. Right. But when we as EV charging company were in discussions, we were told that there are various strings around the charging infra. You got to install a two-wheeler charger, three-wheeler, all type of chargers. And we honestly walked out. We said that we don't need a subsidy because in business, nobody likes uncertainties. As Amitabh said, I think I can see him, I can just imagine rather, he and his team going through a pain of what business plan will we make now, for the next 3 years when there are uncertainties around FAME 2, recertification, FAME. So for us, we took a bold call on focusing on high-speed charging infrastructure for four-wheelers. Our business model is that we invest, we build a charging infra, and we sell electrons and not molecules. That's the way. So we are the gas stations of the future. Right. And having said that, we are also a firm believer that there needs to be this VGF or viability gap funding as an option given to the industry across the board. Two-wheeler, three-wheeler have been the max to benefit, but private electric buses or the future electric trucks can also be part of this scheme. So very clear, let's say a clarity from the relevant government stakeholders will certainly help. And VGF maybe for the next 2 years or 3 years until we see the cost of production of these vehicles, especially batteries, they come to a reasonable bankable levels. I think that's where the VGF can be tapered down. But at the end of the day, my personally what I would rather say and share is, please remove uncertainties.
Right.
Either you give it, you don't give it, whatever it is, be certain of what we want to do. And that's a message to the government.
Super. Rajendra, I'm going to skip you for 1 second and then I'll come back. So Chaitanya, there are a host of policies, guidelines, there is obviously FAME, there's the e-Amrit portal, Atmanirbhar, PLI. What needs to be done, on a more holistic basis to improve the idea of localization in this ecosystem, right? To build self-sufficiency. How do you think through that as a policy think tank?
Thank you. Thanks, Manu, for the question. I think I'll start off where Amitabh and Kartikeya left off, which is that the way we lay out policy roadmaps in our country is not necessarily long-term enough. Policy roadmaps are actually good. When they do come out, they are good and there is a decent amount of support that's given. So FAME totally is now, I think, just over 10,000 crores was allocated. How well it was planned for disbursement, how the enforcing and supporting mechanisms came up to ensure that it is used up could still be improved. On the supply side as well, I think 18,000 crores for the advanced chemistry cell PLI, another 26,000 crore for the auto PLI, advanced auto PLI. So there are investments, public investments that are being announced to catalyze and accelerate the ecosystem. But is this being announced in advance enough? Is this de-risking the ecosystem from a signaling point of view? Is, I think, where the weakness is. So if industry needs to invest today for a certain amount of projected targeted demand tomorrow, they need to have that clarity today for 2030. We've been talking about 2030 since 2015. We're getting closer to 2030, and yet a lot of the policy support that will be present in 2030 is still not clear today. And one area where that becomes paramount, where our clean energy transition itself sort of comes to be at stake, is maybe in this whole critical mineral supply chain. Just maybe a week ago, I think the government of India, one of the headline items has been that the government of India has auctioned out 20 blocks of critical minerals for mining. A mining timeline is 10 to 15 years. Like, is 15 years from the time a mine is discovered, potential deposits are discovered, it will take 16 years for a mine to become operational. Now, and why are critical minerals important? They sort of underpin the whole clean energy transition. So an electric car, for example, actually uses 6 times the critical minerals that a regular car uses. So as we are moving away from fossil fuels or hydrocarbon based energy, we're moving towards mineral and rare earth supported energy, mostly where they are required in our battery systems, in our motors and various parts, both for renewable energy and electric mobility. So with this, so I wanted to touch upon this because this really illustrates the role of government policy, and the fact that if we have timelines like these 15, 20 years, we really needed to have started a while ago. Like maybe in 2018, 2019, we started with the Khanij Videsh India Limited, Kabil, was a sort of institution that was set up under the Ministry of Mines to source strategic investments in other countries. We haven't made a lot of progress in that. While we know that China controls a large part of the production and processing supply chain for critical minerals, India is still very, very nascent in that, on that front. So the kind of signals that need to go out so that investors actually invest today for the future will need to be done so that you don't have critical minerals be a bottleneck in the future. Where the demand is there, but the supply is not there because you don't have that supply chain in place. Supply chain shocks can lead to sort of the rise in prices. We saw how lithium-ion battery prices went up again in the middle and are now tapering off again. So, and with India, a large part of our clean energy transition has been the energy security aspect. And we don't necessarily want to move from one sort of energy dependence to another sort of energy import dependence. So the role of government policy is really to lay out that clear roadmap and to start de-risking the ecosystem, be it from a material substitution point of view to find more localized indigenous materials, be it from a recycling point of view to ensure that some of that supply can be catered to by recycling and reusing the minerals that are already in the batteries there today, and to actually have that stability of the supply chain through mining investments in country as well as strategic partnerships with other countries. So that needs to happen, and I think that's where it becomes very clear.
Awesome. So I think clarity, is required in policy. I mean, as obvious as that sounds. Rajinder, so I don't know if the audience knows. So Matrix and Rajinder were the first investors in Ola Electric. So I think they have a perspective. I think that very few do. And you have Park Plus, you have O2 on the financing side as well. So could you, I think, briefly talk about Matrix's thesis in EV, first of all?
Sure. So first of all, thank you. And to the entrepreneurs in the room, I think building in this sector is incredibly challenging. And so kudos to everyone who's working in this space. first and foremost thesis when we backed Ola Electric was honestly the founder. It was a special relationship. We had known the founder through his previous company. There were clear insights from Ola and EV and ride sharing from the multiple pilots that they had done. So it was frankly a very easy investment for us to make. But in terms of choices, I think the US EV ecosystem developed very differently from the China EV ecosystem. US, if you look at it, there are a few companies. Most of them are full stack. They kind of built vertically. They own battery, they own vendor ecosystem, they own components. And in a few cases, of course, they work with external partners. In China, it's developed as a much broader EV ecosystem, where you have multiple different players in each part of the value chain, and there are enough competitors. And Tarun was bringing out this point that, you know, just in motors, for example, there might be 450 companies, right? Whereas in India, there might be only a few. So I think when we were making the investment, the first question we asked ourselves was, which way will India likely go? Will it be more like the US in terms of vertical integration, or will it be more like China? And one choice was really around, you know, how will government policy play out in this space? And it seemed to us that the only certainty in terms of government policy is that subsidies will end. We don't know when, or viability gap funding will end. We don't know when. And so whatever business gets built will have to plan for that end and basically be a cost leader as well as an innovation leader from the get-go. And if you have to be a cost leader from the get-go, then you have to build at scale. And so obviously, again, the entrepreneurs that you back are slightly different. They think of the business from day one at scale, and Bhavish is absolutely one of those. So two-wheeler, largest market, 20 plus million units. Two-wheeler, largest factory in the world from day one. That was always part of the plan. Vertical integration, cell manufacturing, in-house, R&D, in-house from the get-go. And then if I go to the other pieces of the BOM and how much of that is planned to be insourced and how much of it has already happened, that I'm sure he wouldn't want us to disclose. But most of it on day one was very clear in his mind. And we're privileged to be in partnership with such founders. I think it's challenging to build in this industry. I agree with Tarun and others that I suspect India will have somewhere in the middle, neither the US nor China. But if we end up thinking that it'll be like China, where there will be hundreds of companies that succeed, I think we're fooling ourselves. I think it'll be a fewer, smaller set. And the entrepreneurs that do break out and build large companies, I think will be very, very large. Because Indian companies in this sector, I think, do have the potential to go global as well.
Got it. I'm just going to continue, pull a little deeper on that thread with you. Is government policy a go, no-go decision for you, right? As you're sitting in the IC meetings, right? Are you thinking, is that, like an overwhelming thing that influences decision, or are you like, it will be figured out eventually? We can't really go wrong on this, something as critical as, an EV investment, or in general, is government policy outside of EV as well? Is that something that affects the way you invest?
Yes. So I think any investor who tells you otherwise, is wrong. Regulation in India is core to our economy. Whether you think of fintech, whether you think of EVs,
Gaming.
whether you think of e-commerce, whether you think of gaming, every single industry in India is regulated. Whether there is a regulation or not, it's regulated. And the regulation will always be gray. And you never know whether you're on which side of the line, on whether it's gray or whatever it is, right? So there's no real answer on how do we factor this in. The one thing you can do as an investor, and certainly as an entrepreneur as well, is have regulatory thinking built into the company from day one. So, for example, in certain industries, it's much easier for us to work with entrepreneurs who have experienced regulation before they start the company. Maybe they experienced it in the previous company that they built. Maybe they were at a large bank. Maybe they were at a large manufacturing company. But they have firsthand understood how to navigate and understand regulation. It may not be needed in the next social media app, but trust me, once that social media app becomes large enough, you will absolutely need it. So build that muscle in early. Don't externalize. Government is part of our life, so it is what it is.
Got it. Super. Amitabh, so I'm going to, as you think about increased EV adoption, right? A core part of that is going to come from financing, right? You guys are investors in auto, but I think there has to be a more fundamental, ground up financing that needs to happen, right? How are you thinking about it? How are you seeing? How would you like that sector to pan out? I think that's the easiest in your segment, right, which is commercial three-wheelers.
Yeah, so it's weird. This is an industry there that India manufactures about 1.3 million three-wheelers every year. That's all. And it's been happening for a while, right? So demand side, no issue. The strange part is that most of the manufacturers had to build their own financing arms. If you think about it, Bajaj Finance and Mahindra Finance and all that. It's largely because, for whatever reason, three-wheeler industry was not considered to be one of those industries which, any NBFC or commercial bank really wanted to, venture out and invest for whatever reason. It's largely been an ad hoc kind of investment that used to happen either through the dealer or through agents who would help you in the process. Interest rates were as high as 32%, 30 to 32%. This is for a person who is buying a vehicle for his livelihood. 1.3 million every year are manufactured in this country. That's the status, right? Now come EVs. It's been very, very difficult. We are, of course, not just selling three-wheelers. We're also kind of evangelists for the three-wheeler auto rickshaw driver. To a certain extent, and that shows in the corporate identity and the dealerships that we've created and all that. But at the end of the day, we're trying to see how we can make sure that, first of all, financing is available in better terms. If it's that same CIBIL score that is going to be tracked, and poor guy, he bought a gas cylinder or a gas stove and he missed out on one of the payments, so CIBIL score ki lag gayi. So, I mean, dude can't even buy a three-wheeler from that perspective. So we are trying to make sure that we work with financiers. It's not been easy, but we have 19 of them on board now, including the likes of Sundaram Finance and Shriram, Finance. And that has all happened because of data. So EVs, the advantage of EVs is each component, not just the entire vehicle with GPS data, but each component is spitting out data. And that data can be used to determine not just how much the vehicle is driving or where the vehicle is, and then the innovation that we have, even if you turn off the vehicle, you can identify where it is. It gives a certain amount of confidence to the financier. And that's the reason why some of these people are now stepping forward. It's not just the new age fintech companies that are doing this, but also the traditional guys, because this is the first time they are able to see ki acha gaadi hai kahan. Once you make an investment in diesel, how do you know where the vehicle is? Most of these guys never show up in a dealership to get their vehicles, serviced either, right? It's all roadside. So there's a big change that's happening. The way we had to address it was by seeding it with a few financiers, seed a few vehicles. They get used to it. They like the fact that they can see data. They don't like to repo vehicles, but they can actually go to the driver and say, "Ki yaar, kam chalaya hai, what's the problem? Can we figure out something for you?" and all that. So that's worked out. We've been able to bring the interest rates all the way up to 18 to 20%, which is really good. Our hope is that through the convincing that we are doing, hopefully commercial banks will start showing up. That's when the interest really comes down. The sad part is in the B2B side, when there are firms buying auto rickshaws, whether cargo or passenger, then you get loans at 8, 9, 10%, even today. And the poor guy who's buying it for his livelihood, he's getting it at 28%. Matlab, yeah, so that's where we are on this, and I'm hoping that more and more people get access to this data, get used to it, and that's why.
I'm surprised. When FAME2 was announced and implementation began, why government did not nudge RBI to make it a priority sector lending?
Right.
We have seen that in renewable energy 10 years ago, 12 years ago. We are seeing all these gigawatt of installations. It was actually one important thing that happened in 2014 when RBI classified renewable energy as a priority lending sector. Right. And that's the reason banks started opening up the wallets to various industrial groups to begin with. Also, there were various individual entrepreneurs who set up solar or wind farms and so on and so forth. So that lack of coherence, yeah, or a consistent thinking is what I think we should all be worried about.
Got
Yeah,
it.
That's
That makes sense. And I'll just continue on that. So one of the policy issues that affect you is discoms, right? So, I mean, I know certain states have maybe Delhi or, but how are you thinking through as you expand your charging network, discom policy, having to work with so many disparate entities and, coordinating with them about areas that they don't fully understand? Is that, how are you thinking through that, and how is it affecting your rollout?
Now, fortunately, before we started ChargeZone, we were building up, renewable energy plants, and dealing with regulators is part and parcel of our business then and even today. And we actually fought some of the cases. We won some, we lost. Not that we want to fight, but it's because the electricity sector, power sector, is dominated by state regulators. Electricity is not the subject of the center. Electricity is a subject of every state in this country. So that's a starting point. The second part is we realized that we got to deal with discom hands down, and every day we'll have to deal with them. Actually, I'm also a certified electrical contractor. That's the only time I found my degree in electrical engineering useful, rather. Yeah. But when we started off setting up charging station, it was very clear that that there will be upstream integration that we'll have to do. We'll have to set up power infra for every charging station, and we walked into this with a very open mind. And in 2019, we started off. Today, with 20,000 kilometers of highway electrified, we are in Bangalore right now, and Bangalore is the city with largest presence that we have for more than 100 plus supercharging stations. 9 hubs that we built in Chandapura, in Yalanka and all. And they're all done ground up greenfield projects. Having said that, yes, discom is a major challenge because they are all led by government-owned entities. Very few cities in India have private discoms. Right? That is one part. The second part is what we need from discom is only the agility or the speed. So just another example, we are setting one Hyundai charging station here, close by, and Bescom server went down just 1 week ago. And for last 1 week, entire Bangalore's applications for new electricity connections are not happening. After a lot of nudging, I said, "Bhai, server ke pehle to manually karte the na hum log, to kar lijiye." So after a lot of discussion, finally the chief electrical engineer nudged, saying that okay, chalo manually kar lo abhi, right? And so what I'm saying, this is one example. There are numerous such examples of discoms in the country. But at the end of the day, I think one thing is clear, that we have a significant large grid in the country. Yeah, people do ask, "Bijli kam hai?" I mean, the first question I was asked by one of our early stage investor, that India does not have electricity. I said, no, there is a correction to be done. India is electrified. Yeah, is that we are not able to distribute it well because generation far exceeds distribution in this country. And what we need to bring is more agility and efficiency into the system.
Actually, question for both of you. Is there a likelihood that discoms will be privatized in the next government?
Yeah, so good question, Rajendra. In fact, before ChargeZone, I was actually planning to get into a discom business. Yeah. And government or some of the state government in India have started discom franchises. So one of the last discom that has got privatized is one in Bhubaneswar in Odisha, yeah, where Tata Power has taken over. So this particular question also reminds me of famous statement by Prime Minister Modi ji when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, that the business of government is not to be in business, and then power sector requires a huge overhaul, like one nation, one tax. Same thing, we need one nation, one grid kind of thing, and at the same time, if not all, but if let's say top 50 cities in India have private discoms, I think the life will be a lot better.
I mean, I'll only add very briefly to that. I think it'll take a long time. There is going to be some coexistence in Bombay and Delhi. We do see private discoms operating, but given the whole legacy and structure of our state level discoms and everything, it is going to definitely take time. So it's not an immediate bet by any means. So yeah.
Super. So Chaitanya, I think we briefly spoke about this. EV policy is, I think, today largely driven as a carrot, based policy, right? And the question was, I mean, should it be driven more by stick as well, right? And so, how much can be mandated? How much can be enforced? Is that practically possible?
Before I come to that, because whenever we talk about regulation, hackers are raised that is the ecosystem ready? You can't regulate and mandate things without ensuring that the enablers are in place, because then you're just setting up the private sector to fail or whoever is participating to fail. So, just before I come to the regulation question, again, what Karthikeya said about electricity, power being a state subject, most of the components under that comprise the EV ecosystem are state subjects. Urban transport is a state subject. Electricity is a state subject. Urban development, where you're looking at building bylaws for allowing charging points in buildings, that's a state subject. A lot has been over the past few years slowly done at the center. States are now taking on the mantle of promoting the EV ecosystem, moving it forward. As an example, actually, if you count all the subsidies for electric vehicles and charging infrastructure that states, all Indian states and union territories are providing, that works out to something like 7,000 crores, which they plan to disperse over a 5 to 7 year period, maybe. And that is similar to almost in scale to fame. So, at the state level, there is a lot being, again, envisioned, allocated, but there is that gap between policy and implementation. And it is a big gap at the state level, state and local levels. And that is where you're seeing this sort of lack of capacity of discoms. It is where you're seeing lack of capacity of state transit undertakings, although they're now, some of them are getting better at managing electric buses. That's where you're looking at municipal corporations and what they understand to be their role in building out the EV charging ecosystem. They don't think they have much of a role. Or when they're sitting on land which is needed for charging infrastructure, they are wondering whether why they should give it at a concessional rate, because there's more money to be made. Cities like Bombay, they're like, every square inch of real estate is so expensive. How can we give some away concessionally for charging? It's an actual problem. But again, I think building that capacity at the state and local levels is going to be critical to actually translate the policies that are being made to create that enabling ecosystem on ground. Because when we're talking about regulation, the kind of regulation that is currently being discussed are maybe mandates on sales or purchases. So recently, Delhi, very recently, just released a aggregator policy where they've said that all companies that are running electric vehicle like fleets or for various services, passenger transport services, e-commerce services, any sort of delivery services, they need to have an electrification plan where they have to hit certain targets and electrify their fleet. So that is a purchase mandate, where you're asking the operators to actually have certain targets, and you're mandating that those targets need to be enforced. There's also something called a sales mandate. And here, maybe Amitabh, you could come in on whether that would be a good thing or not. There are examples of states like California, countries like China, and even the European Union, which have used different sort of instruments to ensure that manufacturers themselves are manufacturing a share of their vehicles as EVs. So you're saying, instead of organically growing the size of your EV manufacturing, if there are certain targets that companies have to meet, then there is some evidence to show that the EV ecosystem will evolve faster. Because rather than a demand driven approach, this is a supply driven approach. And when there's a supply driven approach, costs will come down faster, investments will happen faster. But again, you need to ensure that all the pieces are in place, the supply chains are in place, on ground infrastructure is in place before you mandate that to the private sector. So regulations are a way of So far, it's been a very subsidy-driven market where you're trying to stimulate demand by providing subsidies. Now, subsidies are not going to last forever. So how does the phase out of subsidies, how can it coincide with the regulatory framework? And again, this needs to come in well in advance, because for companies, we've seen the BS4 to BS6 transition. It completely upended companies' plans because it happened within 3 years. We can't have the same thing repeat for the EV ecosystem as well. So it needs to be a plan out in advance. And that means it needs to start, the discussion on it needs to start happening today, even if the targets don't need to be starting to be set today. So it becomes important on that front.
Super. Coming back to Rajendra, right? I think the previous discussion, I think Tarun asked Shailesh about investing in hardware, right? And I think the comment was that people would invest if there were large outcomes, right? As a VC, you're chasing that large outcome. I think Ola Electric is a large outcome. If not, I don't know. I don't know your portfolio, but I'm assuming one of the larger ones, right? So clearly there are opportunities. So why do you think more people are not investing in hardware? What needs to change? How are you thinking about that?
So I think hardware overall, like the history of investing in India is very new. So you don't have, I will confess, there isn't necessarily enough talent at every level. Even on the investing side and definitely on the entrepreneurial side as well, there is certainly a gap in terms of talent. I think Tarun was also saying that at the managerial level, when you think about manufacturing engineering, there is a lack of talent there as well. So as an ecosystem, we are still relatively early. How do we bootstrap and get out of this situation, right? The reality is India's industry is 15% of GDP. China's like 35, 40%. So it's a national priority. The country wants to solve it. All of us are clear that the policy top down seems to be that 15% needs to go to 25, 30%. The government's willing to put money to work to make it happen. There are PLIs, there are subsidies in different sectors. So it's a no-brainer. It has to happen. And therefore, there is an opportunity for investors as well in this story. Now, where will people more likely play? See, there are PLIs in industries like, I don't know, toy manufacturing, etc. Now, is there enough IP in toy manufacturing? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to say something conclusive there. But is there more IP and more R&D know-how in automobiles as a sector? Absolutely. And if you look at OEM plays on the EV side, even if you look at component plays within the BOM of each of the manufacturers that, either Tarun or, others in the ecosystem, everyone's trying to solve for how do you lower BOM and at the same time improve product quality. So there are large markets. The India market alone may not be large enough for some of these plays. You might have to look at global markets. But are investors looking at this? Absolutely. Is the entrepreneur archetype the same as the archetype that we backed a decade ago? Definitely not. You see a lot more people who have spent 10, 15 years who have gray hair and have some scars on their back and feathers in their cap, all of that. So we're seeing more. We will likely do more, and government incentives will act as leverage on whatever capital that we put to work, and it will become a VC investable sector overall.
Great. I'm being given signals to. I just have one question to end with, and for everyone, if we can quickly do that. So we're saying there are gaps on the government side, right? What does the industry need to do? What is the gap from the industry standpoint? Are we doing enough? Is there enough depth in the industry? Is there enough interest? Are we, proving to be a large outcome as an industry that there is interest from the government side as well? So quickly, I think before we take a question or
Yeah, just a few seconds on this. So I think it's clear to everyone across India, across the world, that EVs are here to stay. Technologies might change, a few things might happen here and there, but they are going to be here. Whatever can be done to promote that adoption. And I'm not saying just in the form of subsidy. I know that that's going to go away. That's not the point. But something that is consistent, across the board. That's what we need from a government policy perspective. EVs are going to be around. I think there's enough and more innovation that's happening. I mean, we're a startup, 11th year.
32 global patents have been granted to us. So that's fundamental R&D that's been happening in this company for a long time, and there are others also who are doing this. So it's not just us. So I'm saying that there's a lot of work that's going on in this domain, and I think more and more you'll start seeing happen, including in batteries and chemicals and all kinds of things. So yeah, it's here to stay.
Awesome. Karthikeyan.
I think the train has left the station. It's clear that e-mobility is here to stay and it will grow. I was meeting Gadkariji recently and I said, before it becomes a national emergency, can this be made a national priority, the adoption of e-mobility? And the stats are very simple. If 30% of the vehicles are electric, and I'm only talking about four-wheelers and three-wheelers, let's not keep two-wheelers aside, it will save $126 billion recurring every year on crude oil imports. That will support our education and healthcare budget of the country for a number of years. So it's pretty clear that while government has done their bit, yes, I must admit one thing, that the industry need to step up now. Yeah, because at the end of the day, government's job is to roll out the red carpet, the policy. All I am saying is that there need to be a proper coherence. That's all we need. But yes, I think industry need to really step up the game now, and because there are tons of really thousands of consumers, waiting for the right EV product options to be given, financing and so on, and they are really willing to adopt it.
Super. Rajinder, as it pertains to your funnel, actually. So.
No, so just I think industry should play within the bounds of regulation. I think there have been lots of companies that have been playing around regulations, and it hurts everyone in the industry who's playing within the bounds of regulation.
Super. Chaitanya.
Yeah, I think, industry is doing quite a bit already, but just one thing is, more on the R&D side, and that needs to also come from government in terms of a push, and the top players are doing that. There's also a lot of smaller players that are coming up, that are mushrooming, looking at the ecosystem. That's not necessarily going to be a long-term sustainable outlook. If you see things like the e-rickshaw sector and all, there's only a few players that are actually doing quality products. So I think that focus on quality will become very crucial to ensure that transition happens, because quality and cost, how can you balance that to ensure that the transition happens for the consumer?
Great. Thank you so much. We'll take a quick audience question or two if there is one.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Just a second. Thank you very much. Great discussion. I know government also is doing its best, but thing is, there are so many mixed signals also coming in the papers. They sometimes talk about ethanol, sometimes talk about hydrogen, and it's confusing for the customer also. Like, will EV is really going to stay, or ethanol is going to come, or hydrogen is coming? I mean, Toyota is coming with green cars and all that. So your point of view on that, like, what is going to stick around for the next 5-10 years? I don't know.
I think they would take offense to the.
No, perfectly.
No, I'm just.
The alternate fuels is here to stay. It's very clear. Yeah. And other than diesel and petrol, I think we have EVs, we have biofuels, that includes ethanol and so on. Yes, I think that could be one think tank, and we have Chaitanya here from WRI. Maybe she can lead this entire exercise to give a clarity largely to the industry, in general, and the market in general, that what trends where and how. But at the same time, we as a consumer are pretty much used to this, right? We had CNG.
Correct.
Yeah, and when CNG came, then we say, okay, CNG will take over petrol. It never happened. Yeah, but it's clear that alternative fuel options is now the order of the state.
Just to add 2 points to that. One is, I think it will be use case led, number one. Different use cases are going to see the economics work out for different alternative fuels, definitely towards the cleaner fuel ecosystem. But which use case will go with which fuel is something that will still remain to be seen. And secondly, where you're seeing quicker uptake, therefore, is the commercial vehicle space, where you have faster cycles. Like, the vehicles are going to be used up in 5 to 7 years, and so they know that it's not a long-term bet. I think it's more for the private sector, like for individuals to transition. That clarity will be helpful, because we've seen that with diesel only being limited to 10 years and all, there's been a massive shift away from diesels in consumers. So they don't want that to happen with EV, and that might be part of their hesitation. So that clarity definitely needs to come, especially for the individual consumers.
First of all, big round of applause for this awesome panel over here. Thank you, Amitabh and Kartike, Rajinder. Thank you, Chaitanya and Manu, for coming all the way. Really appreciate this. Fantastic. Some of them are actually flown in from outside the city and some of them outside the country as well. So give big round of applause, guys. One more time. Thank you. Fantastic. And a small token of appreciation from Pan IIT for all of you.
Check, check.
Would like to request all the investors to please come forward into the first 3 to 4 rows, please. So it's easy for us to coordinate. Everyone, if you can please settle in, we'll get started. I'm sorry, we have to get started. We are losing on time. If you have to have enough time for lunch, I request all of you to be seated along. People in the last, Nikhil and everyone, if you can just be seated or like continue conversations outside, would be grateful. Fantastic. We get started. Thank you, everyone. So this demo day is going to be 8 wonderful pitches. The first one starting with Aperture, building an intuitive LLM-powered Excel-like interface that helps democratize data access across organizations. Over to you, Himanshu, and good luck. We have 8 minutes and we continue here.
Hi, can I start? Is everyone here? There is a. Are you guys sorted? Okay, can I start now? Okay, okay. Perfect. So very quickly, I'll give you my background and how we sort of came up with Aperture. I used to manage this business called Hyperpure for Zomato. It's now the second largest business line in Zomato. One of the things that happened while I was at Zomato, at Hyperpure, was that we were going through a massive growth cycle. Our data was everywhere. Basically, we had multiple silos of data, islands of data. And as the CEO of that business unit, I wanted to get very, very data driven. And not only did we have silos of data, the transformation of data, all of that was all haphazard. So we started thinking of what could be after I left Hyperpure, I started thinking what could be a great solution for that. Worked with a large number of corporates, worked with Titan, Kotak Securities, a couple of US clients, etc., etc. Started seeing maybe we could get to something like this. So started Aperture maybe around 1.25 years, 1.5 years back. And this is a simple Slack bot. We started thinking, how will analytics happen or data engineering happen sort of maybe a few years from now, right? So this is a simple Slack bot. In the morning, you get a daily report which tells you what's happened in your business yesterday. Next. What caused the increase, you ask. Next. There was a week-on-week increase. That's the reason why you've seen a day-on-day increase. Next. This is the breakdown across all these different channels. And it seems like there is a uptick in renewals in Delhi and Gurgaon. Now, this is the sexy part, right? Everyone knows LLMs are here, we can do that, etc., etc. But let me tell you, this is not easy to do. The plumbing that goes behind it is the non-sexy part, which a data engineer does, and that's what we are building. We're building a low-code data pipelining tool, which takes a business from scattered data to this kind of an interface. I'll show you the interface first, and then I'll just quickly go through the presentation. So what the world of data engineering looks like is nothing like this sexy Slack interface. In the back, you need to have all of these different data sources that your system is talking to, all of these pipelines. I'm not sure if you're able to see it. It's a little pixelated, but I assume you can imagine there are these entire lineage diagrams. Now you can generate new pipelines either using simple, intuitive, natural language module, or you can use your trusted SQL, but you don't need to install Debezium, you don't need to install Airflow, you don't need to do the heavy data engineering work. We turn a data analyst into a data engineer, and that saves a lot of cost to the company and brings a lot of business insights at a much lower cost. Next. So this is what our platform is. Where are we? We have been in existence for the last 1.5 years. We have done over 10 plus pilots, like I told you. We have 4 paying clients and a decent ARR. I'll quickly walk you through the presentation. which will sort of give you the thesis. I think not going to take more than 2 minutes, and then I'll open it up for questions. So we call ourselves a low-code data engineering platform. Next. This visual sort of tells you, just go back, please. This is what we look at mostly. Oh, LLMs are here. This is so powerful. This is so nice. But this is what is actually required to power all of this. Next. This is our hypothesis, tested after we've spoken to a bunch of clients. Next. So how do ideal data stacks look like? You have all DB, SaaS flowing into a data warehouse. You have a transformation layer with version control, test cases, etc., written. And you have analytics, real-time insights, probably a bunch of AI-powered chatbots. Next. But this is how it actually works. You don't have any version control on your data engineering pipelines. Your SaaS tools, SaaS data is typically missing, especially if you're using something like SaaS or SAP or Salesforce. Building connectors to that is really, really hard. You don't have a real-time insights layer at all. Next. So a low-code platform to help data engineers, analysts build and maintain data pipelines. Next. This is where Aperture comes in. We have low-code connectors to all tools. We have a low-code transformation layer, and we have a real-time insights service that you can build. All of this for data engineers and data analysts to use, reduce the amount of time. I'll just show you quick case studies on what we have done with clients. Next. So Sangeeta Mobiles came to us. They are one of South India's largest offline mobile phones brand. They wanted to launch e-commerce, and we started partnering with them, figuring out what can we do for them. And these were all their data sources. And basically, we set up all the low-code pipelines. Today, we are powering this entire thing for them, right? Their analytics, their ad hoc operational needs, and their insights and automation. All of this is being powered by Aperture. Next. I'm just going to leave this. Next. Viom, after they raised their Series A, they were looking for a data engineering solution that could basically take them from scattered, broken data to streamlined data services. So these are all the tools that we eat from, get into, that goes through our low-code data pipelines, and all of these sources where we finally feed into. Next. This is something that I started with a demo with. So talking to your data literally, it's probably the next thing, sort of headless analytics tool per se. Next. This is just to give you an idea of how our weekly active users have been moving. Next. This is just to demonstrate scale, where we are, early days. Our pitch to clients is very simple. We go from scattered data to GenAI applications with near zero engineering effort. For Viom, we've at least saved cost of 3 data engineers. Next. That's the team. I just shared my background. Pratyush and Rupak have over 10 years of experience in product analytics and engineering respectively. Next. Some fun facts about our team. We love to code. 7 out of 9 members. Even I have done code commits. We did great design. I used to run a design agency prior to starting Aperture. We get kicks from data. We have 32 years of analyzing, working on data engineering, etc., and we love selling, like you would have seen in the presentation. Thank you. That's it. I don't have a hard ask at this point of time. Happy to take questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Investors, please mark on your sheet yes or no if you want to connect later or not. So I'll collect the sheets at the end of it. The next one in the queue is Zip Teams. It's a generative AI sales acceleration platform. Over to you, Siddharth. Good luck.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Siddharth, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Zip Teams. We are a generative AI sales acceleration stack. So you all are seeing what generative AI is doing from outside an organization today. You know, public data, analyzing it, giving various outputs for various things. But what we are doing is using generative AI to disrupt organizations from within. From within the data, we are using that data to disrupt organizations and accelerate their growth. Uh, quick intro about us. We both founders are from Lead School. It became a unicorn in 2021, and post that we left that and started Zip Teams. We have a background in product and we have background in data science as well as AI. So what core problem statement we are solving for? In my past journeys and in implementing CRMs across various organizations, what I realized is that everyone hates CRMs, right? For the sales teams to decision makers, everyone hates CRMs because they're complex workflows. They don't have the necessary data that is required kind of to make decision making. The data is very anecdotal in nature. So sales rep would only put certain data entry points like what has happened to a particular sales call, and that's it. They would not detail out as to why that customer's need didn't get addressed, etc. And that's what we are going to and what we are addressing using Zip Teams. How are we solving it? So what we have done is we are deploying hyperlocal LLM stack. What we've done is created a generative AI layer, and we are deploying it within the customer conversations of an organization. So wherever the sales calls are happening, especially inside sales calls are happening, we get to and put our LLM stack, which learns from the CRM as well as the organization context and starts creating indexed conversations and searchable conversations, which can be used for multiple purposes. And I'll show you how. What we've done is further technically, we have created fine-tuned context search. So you can search within the data of the organization, find out in a customer conversation when that customer mentioned about budgets, when that customer mentioned about needs, who is the decision maker, etc. We can find out that through a very fine-tuned context search. Further, to train it, we are using hyperlocal zero-shot learning as well as in-context learning. We are using that to train the algorithms continuously on within the data. So it becomes much more powerful and creates that powerful outcomes for them. And finally, all of this ultimately what it does is creates a unified conversations platform for an organization where every customer input is kind of available in this, and that can be created to very powerful outputs that we are seeing with this. How we are acquiring customers, that's really interesting. In our journey so far in the last couple of years, what we have seen is the inbound channel of growth is definitely a lot affected because you spend a lot on marketing when the sales teams kind of calls, and we're doing work for insurance, ed tech. You get a lot of calls, but ultimately the churn rate out of that is only 8 to 12% is what is sold. So what's happening to the 92% data is what we are able to pull, and that's where we are deploying our stack, where we connect the calls of the organization easily with the customers, and we are able to pull out data out of it. Which it shows up like this, where you have a list of conversations, you get all the calls of the customer, you have everything, the summary of the insights, everything automatically generated. So you get all of that data automatically. That's the first step. You connect your outbound calls as well. So you start getting all the calls here. And finally, when you have all the calls data, you are able to show outputs like, how many calls are done. More importantly, get into, which are the calls with positive intent. So you have a full funnel coming out from the total calls done. You are able to analyze, how well your sales pitch score is, which is how well your sales teams are pitching to the customers. So you can rate on a score. And also, from a point of view of understanding your overall forecasting pipeline, that data becomes very, very useful in various outcomes. Moving on, we are going after this conversational intelligence market, which is really exploring. It is kind of chasing the 100 billion CRM story. So CRMs are today 100 billion. With conversational intelligence, you can make the conversation first CRM, which means you don't need a CRM at all because you're capturing conversations at source. We started in 2021. We raised a seed round in last year, and post that, with our design partners, we launched finally in market early this year. Today, we are working live with around 20 customers, and we have around 30K in ARR as of now. By January, we should be 100K, and the pipeline of customers is continuously growing around 30% month on month. We're getting great validation on the product. right, on G2 as well as from our customers directly, that they're increasing their leads by more than 50% by using these tools, which are accelerating the sales much faster. I'll jump to a little bit on the product. So I'll show you one very disruptive use case. Okay, fine. Okay, so primarily, if you see what was happening is the sales call is getting.
How can I help you, sir?
Yeah.
My name is Adam, and I'm representing Glen, a leading manufacturer and supplier of construction materials. I appreciate your time, Derek. At Glen, we specialize in providing high-quality flooring materials directly from our factories. This approach allows us to eliminate the middlemen, ensuring you get the best prices.
So you're selling tile? Is that what you're doing? You're manufacturing tile?
Absolutely, Derek. We manufacture a wide range of tiles as well as vinyl flooring. Our products are designed to meet diverse aesthetic and functional needs.
And vinyl. Okay.
So if you realize, this is an actual AI bot which is speaking to the customer, understanding the context of the conversation already, because it is built on the organization's context layer. From that layer, it is able to talk to the customer. So like that, you can, if you have to increase your sales teams, and especially, in the first cold calls, qualification calls, this becomes really scalable if you have to grow. So such outputs we are able to see, and now we are deploying these outputs in the customers that we have live. These summaries have come. There's call quality output qualification. So that's what we are doing. We are seeing great application of generative AI. What we are looking for is a 1 million round now, pre-series A round now, where we can use it for accelerating our sales and customer success. Thank you so much. Any questions? Mumbai.
How do you price the customers, and at unit level, are you positive because the technology cost here is very high?
That's right. So because at scale, when we are running this, we are able to kind of purchase the technologies at scale, and then we are able to price it at a per minute of conversation that is happening. So we are at unit level, we are positive definitely. Yeah, so that's all. That's where you're differentiating as well. We are going pay-as-you-go pricing, which means you can start using it right from per minute of conversations. You can start using it. You're typically, what we are saying is it's around $1 an hour of conversation for, you can use it for. So that's how we are pricing it. So you can go pay-as-you-go, depending on how you see the sales acceleration forward. You implement more bots, or you accelerate, put more users on it.
What's the realization that you have per minute? Price realization?
It's close to 4 per minute.
Are you targeting clients in India or global clients?
Globally, so across the globe. The platform is totally horizontal. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Moving on to the next, we have Ratham Technologies. It's a Uber for corporate commute. Welcome to speakers over here. Please come here.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the VCs and analysts who are here to hear our story. this is Ranjit Bhai Reddy, and this is my cousin Prakash Bhai Reddy, who grown up together and had come together now to build Ratham, an Uber for employee commute.
Although we started our professional journeys very differently, working across different industry sectors, transportation has been a constant thing in our lives, as both our fathers were state road transportation employees for their lifetimes. So thus we found our calling to build Ratham.
These numbers speaks for them. The size of the employee commute in India. In spite of that, the client side take, which is very inadequate for them to manage the employee transport and manage the operations that happens on ground, and the sourcing supply for 2 lakh trips a day is the day-to-day problem that the transportation team faces at their office. This is the current market value chain where there are 5 stakeholders involved, and the crux, the core of the market value chain is with the fleet operators who are vendors and the drivers. As you see, client pays around 100 rupees for a ride, and it trickles down to only 65 rupees to the driver. And how Ratham is proposing to improve the system, or increase the efficiencies and automation, and where client, and you can see that by the cost optimization, the client end where now is paying 90 rupees, where the earnings have been increased to the driver to 67 now. And this is how we are solving. We are building an end-to-end employee transportation management solution for the clients, and Uberization of fleet ops. What Uberization of fleet ops and why is it necessary is something which I'll take you through at the end of the slide. This is our leadership team. Vamsi Krishna, who is an IIT Kharagpur graduate and has 15 years of experience in building enterprise-grade software. And Neeraj has over 15 years of experience in B2B SaaS sales, and he himself has 3.5 years of experience in employee office commute solutions. This is our revenue model, where we'll make around 8,600 rupees per employee per month, and we have 3 streams adding to it. And this is the market size in India and globally, and the current trend in the market is adoption of EV, and we are at the forefront of it by deploying more than 80% of our own fleet into EV segment.
So this is where it started in April 2022, and now we are running at 18 crore ARR, and we are EBITDA positive, and we have recently onboarded the Google client to us. And this is our ask, 25 crore INR, and this is where we are going to spend the funds for, and we are targeting to achieve about 200 crore ARR by end of FY26.
This is an image of a transport room at a client of a first mover in the industry. And this image is on 7th December, 2 days ago. And you see there are 45 massive people team managing 700 rides a day, which is an average of 16 rides per employee. That is the kind of human dependency that is still running in this space. And even after technology adoption 10 years ago. When I meant Uberization, this is what it was. Uber currently runs thousands of rides per one employee that they hire, and where this industry is at 16 rides per employee, and hence the need for Ratham. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll be on the other side of the room. If you have any questions, anything to talk to us, we'll be available.
Any questions here from the audience investors? Yeah.
Sir, how are you? How you will differentiate yourself from Uber, Ola services?
So basically, the requirement itself is very different from Ola Uber. Ola Uber is not something which guarantees service. Here there is no option of saying no. You'll have to guarantee your services, and the compliance rules are very complicated when compared to what Ola Uber serves.
If not Ola Uber, there are these other corporate like Eurocar, Avias. I mean, Blue Smart also, right? They ensure the quality, and what you're saying, that there is no dropout, and you will definitely get a cab and a quality car.
Exactly.
So,
but in spite of a Euro car, eco car, and they're all there, but still the human dependency in the system hasn't reduced because there is no automation at the fleet ops level. For every 20 trips that are happening, there is somebody who's sitting at client's office deploying a cab, which cab has to go to which location, and there is somebody who's tracking it, and there's somebody who's making payments to it. That is a kind of human involvement that is still existing.
Sorry, the product is the SaaS platform and the fleet, right?
Yeah. Automation of fleet ops.
Any other questions? We are good. Thank you. Thank you, Ratham
Thank you all.
Technologies. Moving on to the next, we have The Energy Company, full stack energy storage platform for mobility and grid storage applications. Over to you, Mr. Rahul.
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone, good afternoon. This is working now, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so hi everyone again, good afternoon. My name is Rahul. I'm the co-founder and CEO of The Energy Company. We make full stack energy storage platforms for mobility and grid storage applications. I'll cover what we mean by that in subsequent slides. In the organization, we are 4 co-founders. All 4 of us have more than 30 years of experience cumulatively in the field of electric vehicle product development for leading companies like Ather, TVS, Hero, Honda, and a couple of other large and small vehicle OEMs. All 4 of us were working together at Mycelio, where we were developing electric two-wheelers for last mile logistics, and where we realized the problem. And what is essentially the problem, before I jump to that, how many people here own an electric vehicle? Thanks, yeah. So my guess was right. It obviously turns out to be 1 to 2%. That is something that we are trying to solve for, that people want to buy an electric vehicle, but why still they are not buying it? Because they are not at all happy with the batteries which power these electric vehicles. And within batteries, there is one big challenge which everyone talks about. That it takes much longer to charge an electric vehicle. We can refuel our Activa in 5 minutes for 200 kilometers, but for our electric vehicle, it will be 4 to 5 hours. But this is not the only problem. The other big challenge with batteries today is that these batteries last 40% less than the vehicle life itself. So if you own a vehicle and its batteries have died out, you need to shell additional 40 to 50% to replace that battery. Then there's a third big challenge, which is inconsistency in all the performance and estimates made by these batteries, which leads to a lot of discomfort for the end rider. And the fourth big challenge, which is more of an ecosystem problem, that no one trusts the battery life cycle. Along with this, there have been a few fire incidents, and there is no resale market for old electric vehicles. All this leads to very high financing costs for an electric two-wheeler, especially in a B2B use case. And that's what we are trying to solve for with our solution, which is Flexi, which is a full stack ecosystem, which includes 2 things. One is a physical hardware layer, which is a battery pack built on modular scalable architecture. In its current form, it goes inside electric two-wheelers and e-rickshaws. We provide 2 key differentiators. One is fast charging. Within 15 minutes, we give a range addition of 50 kilometers. And within 35 minutes, we give an absolute range of 100 kilometers. This happens at a public fast charger. But even with a domestic 3-pin socket, which powers our refrigerators or any other appliance at our home, we are able to do a full charge in less than 1 hour, which is of the order of 4 to 5 times faster than any other mass manufactured EV out there today. Along with this, we are also giving an upfront warranty of 1,20,000 kilometers of distance traveled on road, which is roughly around 4 to 5 times of other players in the competition. Along with this, we have a life cycle management tool, which we call as Flexi Twin. What we do is we understand how people are utilizing their battery packs, and based on the data we collect, we provide features like adaptive charging, which helps us in preserving the battery life even further. The way it benefits the end users is we are able to provide them extended warranty on batteries. So there is 4 years upfront. We give them an additional warranty of 2 years on the battery pack. And along with this, by collecting this user data, we are also able to reduce their financing cost and even improve their resale value whenever these batteries are getting retired from an automotive use case. And on the cloud platform, what we essentially do is we provide these 4 kinds of analytics. The common question that I always get is that anyone can do it. But what people are doing today is only the first layer. They are only showing you the raw information which is collected on the BMS. What we are doing is we are breaking it one step to multiple steps further where we are not only showing the raw data which is coming on cloud, we are also able to understand and diagnose the problem. If a battery is degrading, why it is degrading? Was it a consumer fault? Was it a charger fault? Or was the battery stored at a higher ambient temperatures? And the way it works is, our monetization strategy for the cloud is, we show this information free of cost to every stakeholder in the value chain. And we help them and empower the whole ecosystem around it. But from there on, for diagnosing the problem, predicting the life, and prescribing how to improve the battery life cycle, that is something that we monetize on. We ask fleet operators and vehicle financiers to pay for this service. And our revenue model is two parts. It's an upfront sale of battery packs on day one to vehicle OEMs and fleet operators, post which we operate as a SaaS player, where we provide premium services to multiple stakeholders. And in terms of business and partnerships, so right now we have got 6 OEM clients, out of which we have been able to generate an order book of 10,000 batteries. There's a signed PO that we recently got for deploying 2,000 batteries with one of these vehicle OEMs, which will be deployed in the next 6 months. And interestingly enough, since we have done enough pilots in B2B use cases, there is a vehicle financer who has been evaluating our battery for more than 2 quarters now. He became so confident on seeing this product technology that he is now willing to underwrite 10,000 vehicles in the B2B space powered by our battery packs. And these batteries are already field tested for a couple of tens of thousands of kilometers. This is 20,000 kilometers at the fleet end, another 10 to 15,000 kilometers at our site. And these batteries are already certified. Interestingly enough, what we do is, because we are short on time, we help charge point operators to increase their revenue by 5 times because we are solving for fast charging at the hardware layer itself. That is the reason why these charge point operators are willing to collaborate and work with us. Cells manufacturers get continuous field feedback in order to improve their cells. And fleet operators love us because they get higher uptime, better life, and multiple charge stations, and vehicle financiers get higher ROI. In terms of our fundraise, we raised our first round in the month of December 22, where we raised 4.4 CR, and currently we are raising $1 million round, 60% of which is already hard subscribed, and another 15-20% is something that we have got a soft subscription on. And these are the specific milestones that we are looking to achieve as a part of this round. Yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you. Yeah, we have filed for 2 patents. Yeah, one is on the mechanical and thermal design, and the other is on the cloud platform. And we are filing our 3rd patent on anomaly detection using data.
Any questions?
No, Mahesh, good evening.
Yeah.
So how are you different from the energy storage from that perspective? If you can just give me in 1 minute.
So in the complete ecosystem, Godi Energy is making cells.
Yeah.
We are, I would say, an upstream customer for them. So we'll be using their cells. Our advantage is that we can use not only Godi cells, we can use any other company's cell, but we are able to extract maximum juice out of that cell.
Because of your software.
Because of the hardware innovation and also the software innovation.
Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we are good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, the energy company, Rahul. And we'll move on to the next one, Maru Drones.
Hi.
India's first drone for smart farming and precision agriculture, multi-utility drone manufacturers from seeding to harvesting. Over to you.
Hi, good morning all. We are Maru Drones. We build smart drones for sustainable future. It's not working. It's not working. Yeah. So we are a team of 94 and we have a team from different departments like with a professional expertise. So the journey so far, like we started in 2019 and we started with an obvious but very deadly problem of mosquitoes. We realized that mosquito eradication is still not a technologically solvent problem, and we realized that in cities like Hyderabad, lakes and big water bodies are the major breeding ground for these mosquitoes. We understood how the municipality operations happens, and it is extremely inefficient despite the best efforts. Then we built this world's first mosquito eradication drone, which has made the operations extremely efficient. And we have also seen a 60% reduction in the mosquito population in Hyderabad. And then we realized the disruption that drones can bring in different verticals. Then we moved on to the afforestation, especially addressing the climate change, where we built the seed copter. So the seed copter can plant seed balls at precise intervals at a very efficient way. It can plant 10,000 seed balls in a day, and which is almost equivalent to 50 man days. So which is the essential feature of today's environment related to climate change. So we had a vision. We have launched a campaign of Hara Bahara to plant 1 billion seed balls by 2030. Till now, we have planted 1 crore seed balls, and we have good brand ambassadors for this. And then COVID happened, and we have to deliver medicines to the unreachable locations. Then we came up with Hepicopter, which is the medical delivery drone. This drone can carry heavy payloads in a temperature controlled environment. The vaccines can be delivered in a temperature controlled environment. And we had the record for the longest delivery of 42 kilometers. So over the years, one thing that we have realized is drones are going to be the future. It is going to revolutionize the future. And then we were looking for more impactful projects. We will go into the agricopter in very much detail. Next slide, please. So for this, for the impactful work, we have been recognized in various forums, including Forbes, NASCOM, and Facebook. Next slide. And we were able to interact with Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji twice, explaining the impact that we are making in agriculture sector, and which led to the many of the drone regulatory changes that we are seeing today. Next slide. So in agriculture especially, the agriculture, despite being the source of our food, the technological adoption in agriculture is very meager, and it depends on the obsolete technology, especially from the crop protection point of view. The agriculture is suffering from absolute labor shortages. The average farmer age is 50 years, and no one wants their child to be in agriculture in general. So that is the reason labor shortage is going to go up, whereas the food demand is also going to go up because of the population. So there is an absolute essential to bring more technology for crop protection. And also on top of this, these crop protection operations which are done manually, as you can see there, is leading to exposure of operator to these harmful chemicals, because of which I will tell you 2 instances, one from Tamil Nadu, southern India, where we have seen a woman who has to apply curd on her hands to cure the burns because of this chemical exposure. And from the north, there is the famous tale of cancer train, where every day 100 people have to move from Punjab to Rajasthan for the curing of cancer. So this is an absolute essential thing. And to solve this problem, we have built this drone with an integration of hardware and software. So this drone can spray crop protection in an acre like in 5 minutes, whereas normal manual operations takes around 4 hours. And this can do without any exposure of harmful chemicals to the operator. And it can work autonomously with all the advanced features and sensors. And the bonus part of all this is, if you know, like spraying is just a 6 months, 5 to 6 months activity in agriculture. But we want to use this drone like a tractor. How tractor can be used for multiple applications in agriculture. We want this to be an aerial tractor. So we have started developing different attachments which will work with this single drone. And we want to make it work around 12 months in a year. So we started making fertilizers broadcaster apart from crop protection spraying. And then we moved on to seeding in paddy, and then pollination, thermal fogging, and the payloads are growing. So we want to cover from seeding to harvest using this drone. That is the basic idea behind this. And this is the software where the user will be able to operate the drone with minimal number of clicks. And it also has an integrated drone health monitoring ecosystem to operate the efficiency to the operators. And that all the data that comes from the drone is aggregated in the cloud. And this is used to create insightful insights to all the stakeholders that are interested and involved, be it fleet operators who wants to track their drones operations, or be it banks or insurance who wants to track and monitor loans and insurance facilities, and also the farmer, what has been sprayed on their crop and other things. So you might be wondering who is going to operate these drones. And we were also wondering the same 6 months back. So we took this problem as an opportunity, and we started training in collaboration. We established training academies in collaboration with strategic partners like IITs, universities, agriculture universities, and aviation academies. This is a DGC approved pilot license training, which is valid for 10 years. Until now, we have trained more than 800 plus certified pilots in India, which forms around 20 to 25% of the overall pilot pool. And as we speak, we are expanding this training academies as a separate vertical, and in collaboration with strategic partners and also franchises. So this is the drone regulation part. We are compliant with all the drone regulations, and this is the market size. The market is growing, and recently government has announced 15,000 drones for SHGs in the next 2 years, which will push the demand further. And this is the go-to-market strategy. We are primarily focusing on B2B companies like input companies and corporate farmers. Apart from that, we are creating a channel partners, dealers and distributors to take it to the market. And this is the traction. Hello. So this is the traction. Last year we have made around 650K USD revenue, and this year we have 1.7 million USD revenue till now, and we have worked with all the agriculture majors. And we are looking at a $2.6 million revenue this year, and going till $120 million in the next 5 years. Okay. Thank you. We are looking for a 4 million round investment, and the segregation is like that. Open to answer questions.
Any questions?
So it is a totally autonomous system working on the 4G communication. So
Okay, it has a Google Map into
yes,
it.
yes.
Okay. And but Google Map is only 2D. So how will you like say
No,
someone stays in
like
a flat?
at the present stage that we are in, we do a manual recce to understand what are the obstacles that are there, and then we select the routes where it is.
And now say suppose there is a 23.
So
floor
it's
apartment.
it gonna fly 100 meters height with lat longs from a point A to point B, fixed lat longs, and it's fully autonomous plan. In a simple terms, when you're booking a cab, right? What it's taking lat long, and guys coming to there, right? Similarly, it is an aerially. We are doing this
Yeah,
autonomous
but,
plans.
Like Uber and all, you have to go down to your building and then from there catch to the nearest road. This is supposed to come to your doorstep. So you have a flat number out of 100 flats. One of the flat you have to go and deliver.
I'll cut down your question. We are not doing last mile connectivity to your household. We are doing to a common point of point A to point B, because in India, last mile connectivity with the drones is still we are not ready with the infrastructure.
Yeah, that's what
in future, it might be like we'll be having a.
So this is more like a middle mile.
Any more, please?
Any more questions?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Do you manufacture the drones in India?
Yeah, we are manufacturers and OEM, and we have all the clearance and certifications in India for selling this.
Which use case will you be expanding on? More on delivery or more on agri?
Agri, because we see the digital transformation and the more demand market is matured in agri at present.
So as we speak, we are also working on the flight test data and regulation of all the verticals that we have mentioned. But we see still the market is not there. So we are exclusively focused on more on agri from the market point of view.
I thought drones, everybody will have a question. I see still people are thinking. Yeah, feel free to ask us. And we have a stall in the same line when you step out of the room, and you can reach out to us if you have any one-to-one kind of interaction with us. We're happy to show you a drone and interact with you all. Thank you everybody for your time, and thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next startup.
Thank you. The next one in line is MSense. Provides automated quality check and control in manufacturing using AI-powered digital eyes and ears. We have Mr. Shankar over here. Over to you.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Shiv, co-founder and CEO for MSense. I'll be talking about what we do and where we stand in terms of our traction. Okay, so we provide automated quality inspection using our digital ears and digital eyes products. We digital eyes primarily for non-contact visual inspection, and digital ears is for non-intrusive inspection using sound. So you can actually see we have actually done more than 10 million vehicle inspections in production assembly line with zero outflows from our inspection stations. in the bottom, you can see the accolades from major automobile manufacturers, and we also adjust NASCOM Emerge 50 awards last month. This is our founding team. Myself, Shiv, more than 25 plus years of industrial product development experience. Vipin is our CTO. He is based out of California. He is also having a technology development experience, more than 25 plus years experience. Surekha comes with a computer science background from Pantnagar and also post-graduation from AMK. She takes care of our business development. So this is an example of digital eyes at work. You can actually see this is a two-wheeler moving line, how we actually have to capture the images at a very odd location and then look at doing the comparison. So we are actually enabling, basically our fundamental premise is to make sure that the decision making is not on humans, it goes onto machines. That's how we actually start off with the automation. So these are some of the use cases. We can actually see how it is applicable. Optical character recognition on metal surfaces, sticker verification for export vehicles, presence of particular parts, structural defect detection. We're also looking at the tire manufacturing industry, where we're really inspecting the tire mold, even the tire specs also we can do it. Other use cases you can see whether when the parts are being manufactured, their orientation and sequencing we do. Any damages also we can do. So this is a digital ES at work. Pretty much we listen to sound and then make the judgment whether the part is good or bad. These are some of the use cases. I'll primarily focus more on engine defect detection. We have transmission defect detection, and then a spark plug connection, which is more to do with even the wiring harness connectors. We actually do that. So how is the inspection and monitoring market is going to be 2020 by 2027 is going to be $27 billion market. It is growing at close to 8% per year. Initially, we started our focus with inline metrology, basically on the moving assembly line. We have started expanding to the stationary assembly lines as well. So this is the competitive advantage that we have if you really compare with the traditional machine learning companies and the deep learning platforms. So we are able to give a very easy to deploy a solution at a lower cost. And one of the USPs that we have actually developed is to be able to give more than 98% accuracy with very less data, as less as 50 samples. And this actually helps us to have a very reduced time to market. So these are the customers who actually currently engage with. You can actually see most of the automotive customers. That's where we are currently focused. But our technology is more in tune for any generic manufacturing that we can use. This is what we have our financial projections. We are currently planning to get to 300K in revenue this year and expect to be profitable with the 13 million revenues by 26-27. So this is on the resource projections you can see. So just to give you a sense of how we progress this year, we actually added 5 new customers, and these are our paying customers. You can actually see we have actually built one team in Gurgaon. We are also looking at expanding to other manufacturing hubs this year. Okay, so this is our ask. We are looking for 1.5 million funding, basically to cater to our R&D and development expenses. Look at expanding our sales and customer support across major manufacturing hubs, and also go to global customers in the US and Japan. That's all. Yeah. So just to sum it up, we are actually enabling our customers to achieve a zero defect policy by using sound and vision for a very comprehensive and automated quality inspection. That's all.
Any questions?
Hi, what is the efficiency percentage?
Okay, so for the visual inspection, we are at 100%. Acoustic, we are at 98%.
So is this in the line of manufacturing, or is it after manufacturing?
It is in production line.
In the production line. Okay.
Can you speak a little bit on your revenue model? How you charge? Is
This
it
is, okay. So this is pretty much a transaction model. For every inspection station, we get a one-time charge, and then we have AMC on top of it.
Is it per inspection station or per vehicle, or how you
Per
do it?
inspection station. So wherever we are actually deploying, because there would be multiple checkpoints which would be going across assembly line, right?
So wouldn't this revenue model hamper your growth plan?
No, this actually helps us to grow faster, because once you make an entry, right, once you give one solution, because the way we have developed a product is building newer inspection applications are easier on our platform, so we can just replicate. So that is easier for us to, in terms of replicating across the same customer across different factories, once you build the application.
On the easy to deploy, hello.
Yeah.
The easy to deploy integration with other inspection stations, how easy is that?
So we actually do complete integration. I think right now, whatever integrations we have done is with customer systems. So it's a very seamless way. We have our own internal team which actually does it in such a way that typically the customer side IT system requirement are not there. So we have a way to do that seamlessly.
We'll have just one last question.
Are there any things that you cannot do in this
Uh,
from an inspection standpoint?
See, visual inspection we are able to do. I mean, there are certain cases where if the parts are not very clearly visible, then you can't do it. But most of the places because we have a handheld imager as well as fixed camera, so we can do that visual inspection. And acoustic, pretty much we are able to do in an open shop floor condition.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please make a note, all the investors. So Orange Wood is not here. Orange Wood is not here. So the next one is Grid Sentry. So please make a note, it's Grid Sentry, all the investors over here. Yeah, I'll give a few seconds for you guys to make a note. So its next one is Grid Sentry. It's Power Grid cybersecurity startup, focuses on securing electric utilities from cyber attacks. And over to you, Mr. Rajesh and Tanshri. Do you need a mic? Okay, good.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rajesh Rathi. I'm an alum of IIT Madras. Standing in for my co-founder, Dr. Devika, is Tanushri. Devika just became a mother, so she's taken some time off. So Tanushri will fill in. She's our chief tester. So Grid Sentry is a power grid cybersecurity startup. It's a deep tech startup marrying a very, very deep engineering capability with the latest menace, which is the cybersecurity. Our problem statement is power grid cyber attacks cause severe disruption and even loss of life. Frequency of attacks is ever increasing now, and no potential solution is still in sight. The first of the attacks on the electric grid happened in December 2015. As early as 2015, the country still was Ukraine at that time. 135 megawatt lost, 3 lakhs consumers lost power for 3.5 hours. More recently, closer home in April 2022, China intruded power grid system in Ladakh twice. It was documented by the government, and that's bringing it home. Cybersecurity is broadly divided between information technology and more recently operational technology, as coined by Gartner. But operational technology is generally thought of as common to everything, but power is very, very different. And so we decided that we'll focus only on power, which is the mother of all utilities. So what are the challenges in power? Why nobody else has done it so far? Because we claim that we are one of the only ones who focus only on power, because the complex network topology, hybrid utility environment, and encryption is not allowed. So these are some prevailing solutions, which is cybersecurity best practices and surveillance and detection, but they are grossly insufficient. We have to get down to the network. So about us, Grid Sentry will secure power grid against cyber attacks. Our focus is on the electric power substations, the digital ones. We claim that we are substation domain experts because each one of us are primarily an electrical engineer. And finally, we have down in our sleeves unique defensive deception technology with AI ML. We have products before that also, but this is our prime product, and we have already filed a patent for that. Our offerings, G-Scan, automated asset discovery. We have G-Audit, which is automated substation risk assessment. We have G-Watch, which is AI-powered intrusion detection. And then we have G-Guard, which is defensive deception intrusion protection. And finally, to cater to all these things, we have a crack team, which is G team, which is a team of experts. So our value proposition is grid sentry shall ensure uninterrupted power supply and prevent threats to life and properly resulting from cyber attacks. So this is our product launch calendar. We are currently pre-revenue. We were also until very recently pre-development, but we have just completed the development of our entry products. And so our launch schedule is starting from Jan 24, goes on all the way up to Jan 2025. This is our canvas of the competition. Dragos, Clarity, Nozomi, Omicron, all of them are overseas companies. India's cybersecurity for OT, we believe one of the few companies that is in the market is Grid Sentry. You can see the valuations over there. Our unique propositions are defensive deception, automated G-scan, and 24/7 ERT. Yeah. Oh, I'll go back. Okay, our go-to-market strategies, our customer segments are traction, utilities, and industries. Typical customers interaction are like Washington Metro and Delhi Metro. Utilities are New York Power or Tata Power. Industries are like General Motors and IOCL Refinery. So as you can see, US and India are our key geographical focus areas. And between the two of them also, USA is bigger focus right now than India. So these are our sales roadmap. Reference creation by 23 Q4, which is already over. 24 Q1, we will get strategic partners, and then product sales will commence in 2024 Q2. This is our TAM of $7.1 billion. As you can see, the information is old because new information is not yet available. But even there, we have a 7.1 billion of TAM. SAM is 1.6 because only US and India, and SOM is only $20 million. So we believe that by 2026, we will actually rise above the line. By 2026, we will rise above the line, and the next year, we are going to be profitable. The founders are Dr. Devika J. I told about her. She is the CEO and CTO. She has a PhD from IIT Madras and 7 years experience in Power Grid, India. Myself, Rajesh Rathi, I am the CMD, BTech in IIT Madras, and I have also been launching other companies before this. Dr. Amulya, she is a PhD from IIT. Dr. Tanushri is also PhD from JMI. These are our partners, IISc, IIT Kanpur, VJTI Bombay, and IIT Startups. This is our ask, $3 million for 2024 and 2025, and majority of that will go in development and marketing. Summarizing, challenging problem, no potential solution, proven urgent market demand, strong balanced team, entry products ready, and patent is filed. That's all. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I'll give him a card. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one here, please make a note. It's Noon AI. It's Noon AI. Omnispay is not over here. Noon AI, accelerating AI adoption by making deep learning models efficient, affordable, and fast. So over to you, Mr. Deepak, for Noon AI. And this is the last one in the session. After this, we will have a 25 to 30-minute break for our lunch, and then we get started on the speed dating, which is in the next room. So over to you, Mr. Deepak.
Hi everyone. My name is Deepak Gupta, and I'm the Chief Scientific Officer of the company. My CEO is also here, but he was not. We got okay, so he's here, so I'll start with him. Actually, we got very short notice for this.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So thanks for giving us the opportunity for present here at a short notice.
Everyone, so we just called Noon AI just like that. So that's why he's been running and coming over. Thank you so much for accommodating, Prakar. And over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So AI is the future, and in recent developments that are happening in generative AI, enterprises are actually realizing that they can add a lot of value to their day-to-day tasks, and how can they solve the problems and increase the productivity drastically for the enterprises. But there is a major challenge that looms behind AI adoption, and that is that deep learning models are pretty compute heavy, and they are getting heavier and heavier day by day. So there we come in as Noon AI. Noon comes from the word Nuntam, which means minimal. So what we aim is to minimize the compute resources required for deep learning models, to minimize the cost, to minimize the inference time that is required for the model to deliver the results. We can actually help organizations to save up to 80% of the cost. These slides are old, so it is 40%, but we can actually save up to 80% of the cost. We can make models up to 6 to 7 times faster. We can actually enable organizations to deploy deep learning models on edge devices. And we are also working on a project where we are compressing LLMs to be deployed on mobile devices, handheld devices. So how we do it, first we wanted to cover it. So we use methods like pruning, quantization, distillation, binarization, and we use in-house methods which our co-founders have actually developed and presented in top conferences around the world. And we have around 20 plus methods. 15 of them are in-house, and 10 of them are actually the best practices that are available in the market for optimization. So we have actually compiled everything in our product, which we will be launching in January mid. That is called Noon Zero. So Noon Zero is a platform that will simplify the development and deployment of AI models. And it will also give users the capability to use optimization methods that we have developed. Noon Zero platform will have 3 applications: Noon Adapt, Noon Compress, and Noon Track. Noon Adapt will help organizations to train or fine-tune large language models, or any model for that matter, neural network model, on a particular data. Users can actually connect our tool to their own VPC so that their data is absolutely private. And we also have an option to deploy it on premises. If you don't have the cloud, you can definitely use our Noon's cloud to actually connect it and work on it. So as I told, that Adapt will basically help you to train the models. Compress is our USP, and it will help you to optimize the models and use all the methods. You don't need any coding. It would be a drop-down kind of a thing. You just have to select the method and press the start training button, and it will start. Track will actually help you to track the crucial KPIs throughout the whole process. So KPIs like throughput rate, latency, power consumption, carbon footprint, energy savings, all of these metrics you can track with the help of Tracker. And you can also compare multiple models, that how they are performing. So if you have a model, you have actually tracked the matrices, you have compressed it, then you can actually compare the 2 models, that what is the difference in the speeds and the power consumption there. So these are all slides. I think we can go ahead. So these are the papers which are published by our own co-founders at various conferences. And these are the conferences. Deepak, you may want to walk them through. Yeah.
Yes, so the core strength of our Noon team lies in the research that we do. Although the company is there for 4 or 5 months now, the background research, the background technology that we have been developing has been going on for more than 2 years. And these are some of the research works that we have developed ourselves, and these are the top venues of AI that we have published our works. And this is the list of competitors. We are not alone in this space. Although this is a very algorithmically complex space, these are some of the competitors that are there. and among them, the closest is Desi AI from Israel. And we would like to highlight that Desi AI has already raised 3 rounds of funding and close to 50 million US dollars. And we have just started. We are almost bootstrapped. We have raised $110,000 in a pre-seed round. But the fascinating thing is that we are already outperforming our closest competitor by large margins on all the tasks that we have touched upon so far. And before we go there, can you go to the next? Okay. Okay, so we don't have the results here, but compared to Desi AI, we have results which we can show offline that we outperform them by large margins. And when we say by large margins, we literally mean it. For any AI model, if they are providing a latency of certain number, we speed up the model by almost a factor of 3x for the same hardware. Apart from, so in terms of the traction, we have received the pre-seed funding from Texmin of 110,000. This is an incubation center in IIT ISM Dhanbad. And in terms of engagements, in the stealth mode, we did a project for Aramco overseas in Netherlands, and it was related to geophysics. We also did a project for Circuit for livestock monitoring. The interesting thing for Circuit was they had an AI team, but the biggest challenge for them was to optimize the model for their cameras, and we did it very comfortably. We are already in talks with Samsung to the Samsung research. We want to deploy LLMs on phone devices. This is a very early stage talk. We are doing our first feasibility study research, and we hopefully will be able to convert it. And we have ongoing conversation with several companies. So right now, sorry, this is also, I'll just directly speak from my side. So we are right now in planning to scale up, because of course we are in a position, we are trying to go with full force to compete with our competitors, and we are looking to raise $3 million US, and we would be happy to connect with anyone interested in the idea. Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions, anyone? All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for giving us the
Thank you,
opportunity.
Mr. Prakash. Thank you. So, now is lunch. It's open or outside, and we'll start a panel, generative AI, hype or real, over here at 2:15. 2:15 here, where we have Rajiv Rastogi, who is the head of AI and ML Amazon, Mr. Balram Ravindran, Akash Kumar, Vivek, and Dr. Srikanth. So 2:15 here. Everyone, please enjoy your lunch. It's outside. Thank you. All the investors, please give the papers back to us. Thank you so much.
How's this? How's this? Make sure all right, yeah,
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're going to get started with the AI panel. We're going to talk about generative AI. Okay, generative AI, is it hype? Is it real? And we want to talk with the best minds in the country on where is this really going? Where are we going from here, right? And enterprise applications, use cases, you know, how much of it is hype, how much of it is actually real. We're going to go maybe a little bit technical as well. We have some faculty as well over here. And I'm very pleased to, I'm going to quickly call them on stage one by one. I'm going to start with the moderator, Dr. Shrikant Sundararajan. Please give him a big round of applause. So Dr. Shrikant Sundararajan, also known lovingly as Doc, right? He is the IIT Madras. He's a BTech. He also has a PhD from Urbana Champaign in AI back in the late 80s, when many of you are not even young. And he's a seasoned professional. When he's a Venture East is a VC, is a PE VC fund, sorry, and he's also a partner there. In fact, general partner. And little more about him. He's focusing on technology startups across education segments like health, financial services, agri-tech, enterprise SaaS, and so on. He was with Helion before this, advisor to TreeHub and NASSCOM Deep Tech Club. He was one of the early founding members. And he's also a member of the Tech Committee for Government of India Initiative on Indirect Taxes, Customs, Excise. Visiting faculty, IIT Bhubaneswar, IIT Bhubaneswar, visiting faculty, multiple universities. And very happy to have you on board. Thank you. Okay, we have Vivek Sahasranamam, and he's going to be, thank you. Please give him a round of applause. So Vivek is IIT Delhi 98, right? And he's got a PhD UT Austin. Oh, no, I mixed it up with one more. And he's master's degree, and he's currently at Glean, by the way. And he was at Microsoft, and then he was at Google for more than 17, 18 years as leading multiple initiatives. And now he's with Glean leading the entire engineering. And Glean is the enterprise software, is $100 million plus unicorn. And he's heading all the engineering for India. Please give him a round of applause. Okay. Then we have Akash Kumar. Akash Kumar, please join the stage. Guys, give him a big round of applause. He's a money man, so... Right, Akash Kumar is the managing director at Matrix. Matrix is one of the largest VC funds in the country, multi-billion-dollar VC. And a little more about Akash. He's focusing on consumer tech, fintech, AI. He's done multiple investments, in fact, in AI. He's done Dashtune. He's done MTech, multiple investments in the AI space, as well as He's an accomplished professional with experience at driving growth. I know he was at Hotstar. He was a senior vice president in Hotstar. So all of you folks, whoever's used Hotstar, you got to thank him for that, right? And he was also with housing.com before that. And now he's a managing director and doing multiple investments. Give him a big round of applause, please. Then we have Professor Balraman Ravindran. Please give him a big hand. So Professor Ravindran is the head of the School of Data Science and AI at IIT Madras. And
Couldn't know that it was announced 2 weeks back.
yes, we have a brand new department of AI in IIT Madras, and he's going to be leading that. One of the leading universities in the country. Please give him a big round of applause. A little more about him. He is a senior member of Association Advancement of AI, long-standing contribution to AI, PhD from University of Massachusetts Amherst, master's degree from ISC Bangalore, multiple, obviously, papers to his name, and he's been cited across the country, across the world. Thank you for joining us, Professor Ravindran. And last but definitely not the least, we have one of the best AI minds in the country. Many people have used his work and in textbooks even, right? He's quoted, I don't know how many gazillion times. He's leading Rajiv Rastogi. Please welcome him on stage. So Rajiv Rastogi is leading all AI ML projects at Amazon, international markets in India and other countries as well. He's got, he's also from IIT Delhi. IIT Bombay. I'm sorry. So you guys need to, I almost got 90% right? But so then he's after that, he's finished his PhD in computer science, UT Austin, right? And he's got multiple papers to his name, more than 200 papers, and he's been cited more than 6,000 times across the country, across the globe. Give him a big round of applause, please. He's also serving on the editorial board of the CACM and been associate editor for IEEE Transactions and Knowledge and Data Engineering in the past. He's an ACM fellow and Bell Labs fellow as well. And thank you for joining, Rajiv. So great. I think we have a fantastic panel. We're ready to go. I'll give the mics over to the panel so they can get started. And hope you have a blast. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Sudeep. You did the chat GPT thing by saying IIT Delhi instead of IIT Bombay. So on that, we'll start. I'll start this slightly differently. I'm going to start from the big tech angle because we have decent representation here from Amazon and Google. So Rajiv, from your standpoint, I mean, a lot of things have evolved in Amazon, right? From once the cloud stack was set up in 2004-5, and your microservices have improved. Everything is, of course, you sell a lot and charge a lot. That's a different thing. But what are some of the cool things that you're creating for the startup ecosystem to get people starting to use these? I mean, maybe 2 or 3 great examples for the audience, and that'll be
of AI.
AI, basically LLMs, models which you're putting out, which people can leverage and quickly put out apps with some IP.
Right. I mean, again, we build our own applications as well. So, I mean, internally within Amazon, ML is pretty ubiquitous. So we use machine learning across the business, right from search, advertising, improving the quality of the catalog. One favorite that I have is really using computer vision to grade the quality of fruits and vegetables. So, you know, quality is super important. We have a big grocery business here in India and across the world. And the question is, you know, how do you make sure that the quality of fruits and vegetables is, you know, you don't have defects, you don't have cuts, cracks, and so on, right? So we're using computer vision to do that. And we have very cheap cameras that are installed in stores that take images and are able to identify defective produce. Another, you know, one of the things for that we are doing for India is really around, you know, providing a conversational shopping assistant. And we want to do, you know, this both on the customer side as well as on the seller side. You know, emerging markets, especially like India, have a lot of new customers and new sellers. There are many, as you know, there are a lot of subscribers who are first time on shopping apps, they have low digital maturity and so on. So, and customers are very accustomed to getting help from an offline shopkeeper when they go about trying their shopping missions. So one of the initiatives that my team was working on was trying to build something like a conversational shopping assistant, which would play a role similar to what a shopkeeper does in terms of guiding customers to the product that they want to buy. You know, somebody comes, says they want to buy a smartphone, you know, the assistant may ask the person, the customer, you know, what do you want to use the smartphone for? And answer questions that people may have. You know, somebody may have a question, what is SSD and or what is RAM and so on. So the assistant would answer those questions as well. And clearly, you know, a chatbot or a shopping assistant is the perfect application for large language models. And similarly, on the seller side as well, trying to assist sellers when they're trying to list products, or a lot of sellers really don't know about compliance processes. You know, they don't know about how they could grow their business using ads or giving deals, discounts, and so on. So again, having a assistant that would help sellers in terms of listing products. You know, sellers should be able to just upload an image of a product and a few keywords, and we should be able to create the listings. Right now, you know, listing is quite cumbersome on most of the platforms. You know, you have to enter 100, 150 attributes for every product, and that could take a couple of hours. So those are some examples of how we're leveraging LLMs for really improving customer seller experience on Amazon.
Thanks, Rajiv. So what I'll do is I'll flip quickly to our good friend Vic, and he was actually talking to us about why Google has a very unfair advantage compared to some of the other companies, because they sit on a lot of data. So every day they are actually kind of doing something around ML. You spent 17 years there. So give us some insights, because it's very important that some of those benefits actually come out to startups. Say, for example, Akash is going to invest tomorrow. If you folks are doing everything, then you don't need VCs like us, right? So.
Thanks. Actually, happy to. Yeah, I mean, so I've been 17 years at Google. Now I've been about 2.5 months in this startup. So yeah, so I think I have a little bit of picture on both sides. So I mean, Google just has like a lot of data. I don't work for Google anymore, so I should be, you know, also. So it's a. I mean, like I was just talking to Rajiv a little while ago that I worked on like an audience model once for YouTube videos, right? And we're trying to figure out, okay, what are the kind of people that watch this video? Let's say this one. Let's say like a tech talk on, I don't know, something, right? And then, for example, a random TED talk, which is, let's say, some kind of a funny person, right? We were able to figure out that this is watched by techies, right? And this, we could not do this on that video, right? We could do this for hundreds of millions of videos, right? Because there's just so much data, right? I mean, we're just swimming in it. Like every single thing you watch on YouTube, everyone watches on YouTube is there, right? And then you can just, I mean, so we didn't even need all these complicated models. We could just use Bayesian modeling. Okay, it's very simple. You know, what you learned in like 11th class statistics in probability, right? P of A given B divided by P of A. Very simple stuff, right? And you just do this like, and you know, you could scale this to very, very large systems, right? So, you know, and I also heard from many people who were in industry, who were in academia at that time, right? That they came to Google because, you know, it was just impossible to do ML research anywhere else because there's no data, right? The amount of data that all these companies have, right? And I think that is kind of the key change that has happened in the last, I think, with OpenAI and with this new AI revolution, right? Is that basically that advantage is now lost. In some sense, there is now this system available, right, that everyone can use, right? In fact, I don't know, many people have said like the new programming language is English, right? So basically, right, yeah, prompt engineering, right? So you can say, you know, you don't even have to write programs because the system can write the program for you. And in fact, you write a program and run it and use it in the output. So I think, you know, the new world, and I think, yeah, thankful for it. And yeah, now we can see, in fact, in this startup, in some sense, how we are using it. It's changing, yeah, a lot of things. So, yeah.
Thanks, Vic. So what I'm going to do is jump to Ravi. because he's got an interesting challenge. Because when you look at academia, you look at programs, it has to evolve super fast. And IITs have been really, really slow, in my opinion. Whenever I see
We just started a new department 2 weeks back.
Yeah, I
How
know.
much more? You want?
No, but I mean, being students and having taught also, I think things are going to change very rapidly. So I'd like your point of view. What is the vision for the AI school? Because yes, 2 weeks ago you've announced it. How will Robert Bosch support it? Probably not ongoing, but you might be doing. So just tell us a few things.
Sure. So as far as education is concerned, right? So like I said this multiple times. Obviously, I'm plugging it. So we did start this new department of data science and AI. We don't have to run after the newest trick, right? When we're talking about educating, especially in the undergrad level, right? And so we are more concentrating on making sure we get people the right fundamentals. So how would this differ from, let's say, a computer science education? Would be that, hey, we talk to them about handling large volumes of data. Right? In fact, when we did computer science education as undergrads, we never talked about data. Right? We talked about algorithms, we talked about n squared, n log n, and things like that, which, I mean, n squared is like useless nowadays. Right? So we can't talk about the classical models of computing, classical models of data structures, and so on and so forth. So we have to start at that point, right? It's not that I have to teach them, what about Llama 3.4 and ChatGPT 5.3 the day after it comes out. I don't think that's quite where education should be headed. But I agree with you. There's a significant need to revamp and rethink what we do teach at the undergraduate level. For example, do we even teach programming to non-CS students anymore? Right? So the programming used to be something that every branch did, right? Maybe we should just teach them how to use Copilot, right? Or not even that, right? We should just teach prompt engineering. Yeah. So I'm only saying that half jokingly. Right? So it's a serious question that a lot of us are debating about how programming should be taught, and not for the computer science and people whose job is going to depend on looking under the hood, right? But in general. So it's a very interesting time to be in, right? And you were talking about interfacing with industry. So there are a lot of places where we work with industry. In fact, Bosch is just funding the center, but we work with almost like 50, 60 other companies. And we also have one thing which I forgot in my introduction was we also have the Center for Responsible AI, which folks like Google and Ericsson and a bunch of other companies, even Meta, are backing now. And there we are looking at the impact of this technology and what are the caveats, what are the right use cases to build, right? And not just talking to the technologists, but we also have lawyers. And so that's the kind of environment that we want to build for this new program. So where you're not only talking to the technologists, but talking to everybody who's going to get impacted by the technology that you're building and raise an awareness of that. So these are all the issues that we'll be looking at.
And what about changing the traditional outlook of having a Senate approve certain things? Because one of the things about IIT Madras is very, very rigid. And the reason
all IITs, please don't pick on us.
all IITs, okay. So it takes 1 year to approve a course. So we
No. Courses can, like you're talking about individual subjects, right?
Yeah.
If I want to teach an LLM course next semester, I can start. In fact, we just scrapped a big data lab course and we're replacing it with an ML ops lab. Right, and that's going to happen. That will be starting from Jan, so it'll be part of the.
Then adopt this company called SegMind, which Akash will invest in. They're an MLOps company. So now I head off.
And surprising, he said, scrap the big data course after like about a decade late.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. No.
But now I'm going to get to Akash because all you folks are actually creating something which is very confounding to us, because when we invest in AI or forget about Gen AI, machine learning companies which are enabled, there's a first principles approach in terms of how this is going to change or disrupt a segment, right? Now, all the disruption and segment things are happening inside Google, it's happening inside Amazon. So the innovation is very, very thin because the core models also may not be owned by you. In some cases, it could be. So, Akash, what's changing? Because now you have to invest slightly differently. At least I think, from my perspective, we try to invest differently, and we're also learning because things are moving very fast. What are your views?
So I think the big tech advantage aside, right? I think fundamentally what's happening is when you think of foundational models, large models, and thanks to everything happening on the open source side, you're effectively now democratizing deep learning. So if you think of, if you plot a yield curve, right, in terms of till date, who could extract value by doing deep learning work, the yield curve would be so skewed towards, and I've pointed out earlier, would be ads and commerce have the highest yield, right? So they can keep doing, and which is why Google and Amazon were the ones who were doing it. But AI can be, and deep learning can be applied in every segment, but other segments can't yield, and hence they can't invest, right? The moment you have large and foundational models which are democratized, everyone can use deep learning, right? And that is the lens I think most founders and investors need to take, which is whatever your business was, can you reinvent and reimagine your business now with the deep learning being available to you? You couldn't, right? So a small startup earlier, like Ali said, most people would gravitate to Google earlier because we wanted to do machine learning, deep learning. That was the place to be. They were the only ones who had data. That's not a barrier anymore, right? No startup earlier who was trying to do, let's say, let's pick one example. Could an urban company have done deep learning work? No, it was not worth it, right? What can they do now, right? Same way, a smaller company, a D2C brand, I don't know. And that's what we think about, right? That every business, if you can go back and think again, that how do you use this to your advantage? There is no dearth of opportunities.
Thanks. I think that's a very, very interesting point of view. I look at it with a slightly orthogonal view, because whenever you want to pivot, independent of what resources are there, democratized, because certain things have always been democratized. If you look at my first NLP course, it was in 1985. A lot of people may not have been here in this room in UIUC, and I just didn't know what it was all about, right? It's all stupid small things, and I said it would never come out, right? But then I'm a languages person. Writing a C compiler was a lot easier, C++ compiler, because you knew what was going in, what was coming out. But this seemed to be all random. But now it's available, you're right. And the interfaces are going to be pretty much alike. Now, if you're looking at three companies in some segment which are similar, it actually kind of leads to a lot of confusion in me, because you don't know which one is really good, because as you go deeper, all of them are using something which is out there. And what differentiates? Now it all comes back to execution and certain street smarts, and which is a very different way to look at it, as opposed to saying, this guy is some bits computer science major, an IIT major, so I think he'll do something cool. That is gone, right?
So I would say now you can almost split the world of venture into two big zones, right? One is deep tech, hard tech, which will stay, right? Which is beyond code. And then is the world of soft tech, which is where we have had companies created globally and in India forever. The world of soft tech now will get limited to product and GTM execution. There, the differentiation on some nuance of under the hood code for majority startups will go away.
Totally, I agree with you. So it's going to be difficult for us, at least for me, because I used to have at least one distinguishing factor that's gone. So I'll have to kind of look at it very differently.
But won't the data still be there? I mean, yeah, the foundational models are there, but then you will build experiences on top of that, and there you will need additional data to personalize the experience. The foundational models aren't going to personalize stuff. I think so. Data will always play a big role in the quality of experience that you provide. And of course, I think clearly, I mean, foundational models aren't perfect. I mean, you've got to, I mean, they have problems of hallucination, prompt engineering. I think there will be clever techniques of doing prompt engineering, maybe even automate that rather than doing it manually if you want the best performance. I mean, a lot of these foundational models are very sensitive to, in fact, somebody told me if you just change the sequence of certain sentences in the prompt, you'll get very different answers.
No,
It's
and,
that
and,
sensitive.
and they overweight the
so
most recent input.
right. And so again, I mean, finding the so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of differentiation that one can provide, even with foundational models, because a lot of these are super expensive. They are hogs for compute bandwidth. So people will have to get innovative of how you lower the cost. I mean, we've seen, different strategies. I mean, you have multiple foundational models now. You have Plan, you have Falcon, you have Claude, you have Llama, and a bunch of foundational models. They've got many different strategies of deploying these. You can do prompt engineering. You can fine tune these models. If you have a lot of data, fine tuning these models will give you better performance with a smaller model than you would get with a larger model that is prompt engineered. So there's a lot of deep science into optimizing the performance of these foundational models and also bringing in data, your own data, to offer differentiated experiences.
So let me jump in here. During around 2007, 2008, when cloud was just coming up, one of the things that we did when I was teaching at Virginia Tech and NYU, we did a cloud course where we got all the native cloud stacks. And we ran experiments on that to figure out how to kind of use these stacks. Of course, they've evolved quite a bit since then. Do you see something similar happening, Ravi, Rajiv, Kash, in the classroom? So will this change where people are actually running courses on this, things like you're talking about optimizing deeper, smaller data sets in tandem with LLMs? I'm just throwing it out there.
So I can share at least because having been a part of the AI community in India for a long time now, right? And I'm seeing this happen already, right? Going back to what Rajiv was also saying earlier. So if you think of the trifecta of cost, quality, latency, right? Those three you will have to solve, and people will have to tinker around with multiple things. What's happening today is people start off with a basic MVP, which you'll start off with, let's say with Llama, OpenAI, whatever. Get it off the ground, start tinkering. Post that, when you start going deeper and start productizing LLMs, right? It's super hard. It's not easy. Because then you have to think of all these questions Rajiv was posing, which is the cost and latency around it, the quality. Then you start working. So I'll pick an example. One founder I know, today they have 5 large models in the backend and 3 small models to get to the final product, right? And which is what the founding community is already discovering, that they're getting to those answers very fast. Glean is one example, right? Like they've been at the forefront of this for quite some time. So I think putting LLMs into production to that workshop approach, I think founders are already doing it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like, I mean, you should just go out on GitHub and look at how many different kinds of LLM models just exist. In fact, it's just.
How does it work from a student's perspective, and when you're hiring people as startups, right? That whole thing needs to be a continuum, right? Which starts.
Yeah. So, I mean, the more classical curriculum, right, will not be able to change as quickly as you would want, like the flavor of the day kind of a thing. So what I am observing is that there are a lot more, this skilling courses, upskilling courses that are coming up, and instead of shying away from that model of delivering education, I think bigger institutions should embrace that and make sure that these skilling courses that are being offered are technically sound and they are not people out to make a quick buck. So leveraging the latest terminology. So that's something that we are doing. We are engaging with people in multiple IITs, including Bombay, Delhi, Madras, even IISc, have started engaging with these kind of edtech companies to offer quick turnaround courses. I think that is a thing that you will see more and more happening in this area.
Yeah, I mean, I think to add to that a little bit, I think the main thing is like there's this huge benefit that you get, that you can just suddenly spin about a company and pitch it to all of you, right, and everything, right, and then you actually know how that underlying thing works, and is it going to actually work, right, all of these things, right. So that is a key thing that in some sense, an education should really try to give you in some sense. Okay, can you evaluate this thing, right? And then can you say that, okay, this is, yes, it works for me, right? But I trust the underlying thing that it's doing, right? And I'm able to evaluate it correctly, because that is like the key to your business eventually, right? You will pitch and you will get like the first round, and then after that you'll figure out that things just stop working. So I think that is something that education can definitely aim to do.
I think that's pretty cool. How are we doing in terms of time? Can we actually throw it over to the audience? Swadeep, anyone here?
Who's keeping time track?
No, that's what I'm asking. So we want. Huh? Okay, so we'll do one more round on this, and then we'll throw it open to the audience, because I just want to make sure your queries are addressed first. So I think we've got this fundamentally cool thing going, where I'm hoping that the Googles of the world, the Amazons of the world actually start to reach out to the AI schools in these universities and actually have a lot of collaborative things going on, like it used to be in the US, where we'd come in and spend 1 year understanding these. Because first principles thinking as a VC, when I go and evaluate, I'm slightly different. I'm not a balance sheet MBA type guy. But so I had to get under the cover. I also find it difficult to get under the cover because there's so many models. And even they keep on changing. Hey, we can use this, we can use that. So I'm also kind of confused, right? I need to actually go back and I spent about a month and a half in the US, and I went talking to a bunch of people at Stanford, Berkeley. And I came back equally confused, okay, to be honest. So how will this confusion cease? Vivek, we'll start with you, since you're there.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know, actually I was talking to our CEO Arvind this morning, right? And he said basically that something like, okay, like, is AI hyped, right? So, or like all of this other stuff also that, you're asking underneath in terms of all these questions, right? I think basically what we have is we have this new tool now, right? Came via OpenAI, but then, it was building up, and then now we've suddenly crossed the threshold, right? And then the possibilities are endless. The problem is that, we just don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to evaluate it. We don't know how, is it safe? Is it going to give us the right things? Is it going to continue to give us the stuff that we are building on top of it, and so on, right? This is just like a phase of technology, right? So when mobile phones were invented and when they started becoming ubiquitous, right? We had the same. So basically, as a human, right, we are just not able to make this incredibly large leap that this technology is promising to us, right? We are thinking this is too good to be true. This is something must give here, right? Something is a problem, right? And then so in some sense, we just need to kind of, and then some of it is probably true, right? So we're going to learn over time. So it's just a matter of, we are in this uncomfortable stage of time, right? Where, there is a lot of promise. Lots of people are building lots of stuff. We don't know what is going to work, right? We just have to embrace the chaos.
Between Akash and I, at least I haven't spoken to him, but like I'm talking to a bunch of VCs. I talked to them in the Bay Area. All of them are going in very early now, and they're actually working with the founders, almost like a venture studio, where they're also experimenting and learning, because I can't deal with this much information. I just give up, okay? And I can't be very caustic. I can't go down because I'll say, oh, shit, I think I made a mistake. I should backtrack. That's not a good thing. So what's your promise, Rajiv? Are you going to help build this vision where you get into the IITs and NITs and unis and pull out really some cool people and cool courses and cool faculty to work with you?
A lot of, Ravindran actually is an expert in reinforcement learning, and that is going to be a key technology for all the prompt engineering and so on, to generate prompts automatically, to learn what are the best prompts and so on. But, just backing up a bit, clearly Gen AI, going with the topic of the panel about hype versus real, right? It's definitely real. We have seen step improvements in ML capabilities as well as ML model performance using Gen AI, right? A lot of tasks, NLU tasks, performance, like at a 90% precision, your recall has gone up 10, 20%, just because these Gen AI models really capture real world knowledge, right? They're all trained on vast amounts. ChatGPT is trained on vast amounts of data on the internet, right? Right, Common Crawl, books, Wikipedia, and so on. So just the same task, starting off with a large language model and fine tuning that with your own data, instead of just using a random model and tuning it with your data itself for free, gives you a whole bunch of lift. Of course, costs go up too, but I mean, you've got to balance that. And of course, and then you get all these other capabilities of summarization that you couldn't do before, fluent language generation, question answering, conversations, and so on. So it's definitely real. But of course, the hype part, I would say, is around claiming that it's got AGI. It's definitely there are a lot of at the end of the day, it's the output or the responses of these LLMs are based on past patterns that they're trained on. So you're not going to see something super creative come out of this, right? Everything that these these LLMs will spew out is based on combining patterns that they may have seen in different ways, right? They're statistical models. So that's one. At least I think, like, lack of creativity is something that we still. I know you're saying that. I mean, but it's all again based on patterns that they've seen. So it's combining the patterns. But you can say, well, that's what language is, combining words in different ways. So, but again, I think that whether they have human-like creativity is to be seen. Reasoning is another area, reasoning and planning, solving math problems that require multiple steps of deduction and so on. That's also an area where, something that humans can do. And so I think claiming that these things have AGI and we have evidence of AGI, I think that is a little bit hyped up, I would say. We've got to wait and watch. But definitely, I mean, these are all systems that are going to get deployed in the next. They're already being deployed, and in the next year, we're going to see huge deployments.
So actually, I'll just jump
and
in
more
now.
confusion. By the way, there'll be a lot more foundational models coming up.
So in the interest of time, we're
So
running short. So I will.
I'll quickly answer the other side of the question you have been
So
asking.
I want you
Rajiv.
to summarize it a little bit, and then maybe Akash, you also have a couple of minutes, and we'll throw it open.
Okay. So the other side, I mean, you have been asking about the Amazons and Googles willing to go out to the colleges and teach. You have to also ask, are the colleges willing to accept them to come and teach? And the answer is no. The answer is yes. Right. So in fact, we have been reaching out to multiple, working professionals who are also have the teaching itch that we like to scratch, right? And we are getting them on board for multiple of our programs, at least in ITM. So we're happy to get you. Right. And so it's certainly something that needs to be done.
I think two things matter, right? And simple short on hype versus real. I think it's real to the extent that people are not even understanding how real it is. So that's one. And the biggest confusion to your question, as a lifetime coder, I worry about is, for the first time, I'm working with a probabilistic compute setup, right? I'm not used to it. We're used to writing deterministic pieces of software. This is going to be the biggest rewiring that builders, investors, everyone will have to get used to.
Very, very aptly put. I think I'm still trying to rewire myself. A lot of short circuits have happened in the last 2-3 months, but I'm getting a reset. So with that, thank you, gentlemen. We'll throw it open to the audience, and please, when you ask a question, just mention where you're from and what the question is.
I'm from Bangalore. What I just wanted to know is, in this, although we missed, as India as a country, we missed this software thing completely. Will we be able to capitalize on the AI revolution? And is a company like Google and Amazon simply moving away from data because it's too much of data, and they've already moved out of data and they are looking at something else?
I don't know. I think you tagged on two questions to one, kind of cheated, but but we'll get you. But I mean, so I think in India the opportunities are endless, frankly speaking. I mean, I think this is like, you know, any kind of democratization that happens of this kind of thing, right? And the problems we have in India are different from everywhere in the world, right? We need like lots of technology. I mean, you guys will talk to you about all the places they're investing in, right? So I mean, I think in India the opportunity is really amazing, because the other thing is that this is like a inherently multilingual model. I mean, the model understands language at a level at which it's not English anymore, right? All of this stuff. So I think on the India side,
something slightly differently. I mean, data is there, I agree. And if you look at data replication, which is where people are going in terms of interoperability of databases and actually releasing stale data sets, means not totally fresh, but slightly stale, which you can experiment with, which I know the likes of Microsoft are doing, IBM is going to be doing that, Amazon is going to be doing that, because that's the way they get people onboarded. If you hold on to everything as just an API, that isn't fun anymore, at least in my mind. Then I'll go and solve more deeper problems. So I think it'll be a happy mixture. But I didn't even understand the first part of your question. You said like India missed the software. I mean, come on, we kept on writing so many COBOL programs. We did Y2K. We've done so many things. Come on.
I'm going to keep the mic. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, sure.
The thing is this, right? So you said there are a lot of uniquely Indian problems that need to be solved, right? But is that a market for that, right? If some startup goes and builds this, would they be able to sustain in India?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like, I have been at Google for 17 years, and I know Google itself is trying to, of course, solve this problem. But every time it tries to solve a problem, I don't want to speak too much for Google because I don't actually really work for Google anymore. So, but like, you know, the problem that Google always tries to solve is like, okay, can we solve this problem for India in a way that we can solve it for the rest of the world, right? And then there are also always these problems that are all in the details. Like, you know, there is a scale of problem that a large company wants to solve.
Yeah, let's leave Google out of the picture, right? I'm talking about startups.
Yeah.
If a startup solves a uniquely Indian problem, right? So would they have a market enough in India to sustain?
Plenty. I mean, I think that's better for these guys to answer.
You know, I mean, none of these foundational models out there have good support for any of the Indian languages. So they're right there. There's a great opportunity for building something, and it's a huge. India is a huge market, and there's a huge market for Indian languages, right? Indian language interfaces like the shopping assistants and things like that. The things I was talking about, you know, we at some point I'm sure we'd want to offer things like that in Indian languages, right? And yeah, Sarvam is something that got funded. I don't know exactly if they're building foundational models, but I think Indian language foundational models, I think, would be super hot.
Actually, I have a different vision of the world. There are lots of things to be solved in India around rural tech, healthcare, which are very peculiar and endemic to India. And they're very, very sustainable if done. The implementation is where usually you get into an issue. But we'll come back to that later because I don't want to let the audience go. Please.
So, hello sir, I'm Abhishek, fourth year civil engineering student at IIT Madras. So, like being a student, the only moat I used to have is like I can build good tech products with really leading edge technology over any other field with anyone in this room. Right now, with the verge of AI, like everyone, like product building has become so easy. So, where can I build my moat as a student entrepreneur?
You want me to tell you from a basic entrepreneur standpoint? I think you got to think the whole problem very differently. If you're thinking tech first, forget that. Think problem first, solution, and leverage. Because as Akash was pointing out, it's all about execution and clarity of what you're using and the ability to kind of be consistent. Okay. So now it becomes very different. You have to start looking at a startup very differently. We also have to look at it very differently. Because I can't just basically say this is a 100-person engineering team and this is how it's set up. It can be just a 5-person engineering team, which might be kind of killing it, right? Or slaying it, as they call it in Gen Z.
Makes sense.
Yeah, hi. This is Shudip from Prescience. What I understand from the language models are they are applied currently to the quick success. So what you have also discussed, but the material science and the pharmaceutical, drug designing, drug discovery, the generative AI models are a long path to go, and the whole idea about that is very, very different. Even the Google's AlphaFold is, I would say, a success, but still a long way to go. And that's not a language model. It's of course, a different type of model. So now, given that, maybe, Akash, I would, ask you that how the venture capital funds are thinking in this line, because this is an open field still now, one thing. And for Professor Ravindran, means I'm putting again 2 questions in it. I would like to ask that IITs and all, they are having this interdisciplinary sciences happening, and that's most probably the right place where people can start building something like that from India. And most probably chemistry and material science and then biological sciences are very good in India. So currently, this state. So I'd like to understand what you think about it.
I'll go first. My answer is shorter. The answer is much simpler. Founders think and imagine, not venture capitalists, right? So it is the job of founders to figure it out. Our job is to help them and support them on their journey. So short answer, if any VC is thinking, good for them. I'm not.
Okay, so yes, so a lot of interdisciplinary science is happening, and especially applications of AI. In fact, the particular problem that you're talking about, I know at least 3 different interdisciplinary teams in India who have been publishing extensively in using AI in molecule design and material design and so on and so forth, including IIT Madras. They have a very strong program in looking at AI for material sciences and material design and things like that. So these things are happening. We are certainly pushing the boundary. So we have interdisciplinary centers where we have faculty from 12, 13 different departments who are part of it, working jointly on applying AI to solving real problems, not just looking at AI fundamental research, but also looking at how to solve it. That is happening, right? But the investment in Indian academic research is minuscule. We really need a lot more money to come in for us to start having impact globally. So that's still a sore point, but certainly it is happening.
Thank you.
If he stands up, that means time is up.
Thank you. First of all, give a big round of applause, please, for the incredible panel. First of all, thank you so much, Rajiv. Thank you, Dr. Ravindran, Akash, Vivek, and Doc himself. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. This is a fantastic. And before leaving, one small token of appreciation from Pan IIT on behalf. And that concludes the Pivot 2023 for the Startup Conclave. Please go to Aura. We're going to do the closing remarks over there, and a lot of hackathon people are pitching the final closing. We have multiple people coming there. Yeah, go to Aura. We're done. Thank you.